Okay. Okay, so we have quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to announce the substitutes here. So substituting for Lake Melville MHA Trimper, we have Fortune Bay Cape Lahoon, Minister Lovelace. Will be substituting for Mount Pearl North Lucy Stoyles when he arrives is MHA Hogan for Windsor Lake. We have for Topsail Paradise, MHA Din, we have Harbour Main, MHA Conway Ottenheimer. And for Waterford Valley, for MHA Corab, we have Harbour Grace Portagrave Minister Pam Parsons. So typically about halfway through, we'll take a 10-minute break. I just want to remind everyone to please wave if your light doesn't come on and wait for your light to come on. Say your name and position each time you speak because they need that for transcription purposes. The water coolers are located down here in the back and up here, and there's glasses down there, and I ask that you not adjust the chairs, please. So I'll now ask the committee members and substitutes and caucus employees on my right to introduce themselves, starting with the MHA Ottenheimer.
Yes, I'm MHA Helen Conway Ottenheimer for Harbour Main.
Hi, I'm Megan Winter, a research policy analyst with the Office of the Official Opposition.
MHA Chris Tibbs, the MHA for Grand Falls, Windsor Buckins.
Just wait a minute.
Yep. Colby Greeley, Office of the Official Opposition Researcher.
Jim Din, MHA for St. John's Centre.
Scott Fleming, Researcher, Third Party Caucus.
That's me.
Minister Lovelace? No, I'm just trying to queue upstairs.
Oh, there you go. Elvis Lovelace, MHA, Fortune Bay, Cape Lahoon.
Pam Parsons, MHA for Harbour Grace District.
Jim McKenna, MHA, Fogle Island, Cape Frills.
Jack Norman, Political Assistant, Government Member's Office.
John Hogan, MHA, Windsor Lake.
Okay, so I now ask the departmental officials to introduce themselves. We'll start with the minister with introductions.
Perfect, Madam Chair. I can introduce everybody when my speaking if you'd like, if that's okay, or do you want them to do it on the record for themselves?
Do we need it? We need to do it
each themselves,
individually, please.
Minister Bernie Davis, Minister of Justice and Public Safety and MHA for Virginia Waters Pleasantville.
Karen Stone, Deputy Minister.
Debbie Dunphy, Assistant Deputy Minister of Emergency Services.
Denise Woodrow, Assistant Deputy Minister for Legal Services.
Lisa Stead, ADM, Criminal Law.
Chief Patrick Roach, Royal Newfoundland Constabulary.
Lorelei Roberts, Assistant Deputy Minister responsible for Public Safety and Correctional Services.
Patty Hurley, Departmental Controller.
Joanne Turner, Director of Court Services, Provincial Court.
Shelley Organ, Chief Executive Officer of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal.
Michael Noseworthy, Assistant Deputy Minister, Courts and Corporate Services.
Okay.
Danielle Gillum, Manager of Budgeting.
Debbie Marnell, Director of Communications.
Andrew Green, Executive Director of Support Services for the RNC.
I think that's everyone, yes? Okay, I just want to bring the committee's attention to the minutes of April 26, 2024. I'll ask for a mover for these minutes. MHA Ottenheimer, second by Minister Lovelace. All those in favor? All those against? Carried. We'll now proceed with the estimates review process. Once I ask the clerk to call the first subheading group for the head of expenditures, I'll proceed then to recognize the minister, who will get 15 minutes. Then I'll proceed to introduce the first responder questionnaire from the committee, and you will get 15 minutes for questions in the first round. After the first round, questions will proceed in rounds of 10 minutes for each, alternating between members of committee. So I will now ask the clerk to call the first subhead.
For the Department of Justice and Public Safety, 1.1.01 to 1.3.01 inclusive, executive and support services.
Shall 1.1.01 to 1.3.01 inclusive, executive and support services carry? Minister Davis.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the estimates for Budget 2025 for the Department of Justice and Public Safety. And I've already nixed some of my speech, which is great. I was going to introduce everyone there's people behind me, which are awesome individuals that we're going to get the opportunity to hear a bit from. And first of all, I'd like to take a moment to say a big thank you to the members of the team here behind me, but not just those that are here this evening, all those that work alongside of those individuals in the Department of Justice and Public Safety for the hard work and dedication that they do each and every day for the people that we all represent. It's a very large department with a lot of moving parts, more than I think people realize. I didn't realize it, and I'm here now, but I didn't realize it until I got here, how big and operational it was. So it's an operational department that operates obviously 24/7. When one incident occurs, it may cause numerous divisions within the department to use various resources and supports at any given time. So I'd like to say thank you to them for the work they do on a daily basis, and it's my pleasure to work with such a group of dedicated professionals. First and foremost, I'm pleased to say Budget 2025 includes over $50 million in new initiatives for the Department of Justice and Public Safety. I'd like to take a couple of minutes to highlight some of those important justice and public safety initiatives here this evening. Under policing and corrections, Newfoundland and Labrador is privileged to have not one, but two dedicated police forces, the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary and the Newfoundland and Labrador Detachment of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. As Minister of Justice and Public Safety, I've had the pleasure and privilege of seeing the work that these two incredible forces do firsthand, and it's no small task, I assure you. The RNC and the RCMP are making a positive difference in our communities to serve our citizens, helping to provide them safety and security. So I cannot thank the officers for both the RNC and the RCMP for the great work they do in our communities. So we continue to invest in the RNC and the RCMP to support safety and security for all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. These investments are a top priority for our government, as well as me as Minister responsible for this area. Budget 2025 includes nearly $20 million over the next 2 years to bolster policing initiatives. This is a testament to the dedication to foster safer environments, and this is in addition to the $40 million that we've already added to the budget over the last 5 years. The budget 2025 includes 10 new member joint task force unit comprised of RNC and RCMP officers targeting weapons, drugs, contraband enforcement, as well as critical incident response. And we don't have to look very far to how many drug busts and activities that we've been able to, I say we, collective we, or the royal we as they say, have been able to uncover through these joint task forces. That's why we see its investment in another one is only going to bolster that and make it more successful than the previous ones that we've already had. 5 new RCMP officers in Happy Valley Goose Bay as recommended in the public safety review that was completed by the Policing Transformation Working Group. An RNC leadership position for the Intimate Partner Violence Unit, as well as another administrative support, thanks to one of my colleagues for the investment for that as well. Happens to be here tonight. And support for ongoing police training, equipment, fleet, and operational requirements. Budget 2025 also includes 10 new RNC officers for the Northeast Avalon. I would also like to highlight the fact that starting in 2026, 2027, there's going to be an additional 19 police officers. And the good thing about the lead-in for that, we can plan for that and we can get them trained to fill in those areas that they would need to be placed in, whether that be an RNC detachment or an RCMP detachment. These officers will be allocated based on the resource requirements for the communities, led by the Policing Transformation Working Group. Our support extends further than personnel. It encompasses ongoing police training, provision of essential equipment, fleet enhancement, as well as operational requirements. These investments assist the officers to be better prepared for and well-resourced as they're ready to face the challenging and changing modern-day type policing that's required. I would also like to acknowledge the work of the Policing Transformation Working Group. They've been established since November 2023 and are helpful in guiding the future policing services for Newfoundland and Labrador. The working group has been evaluating the province's current policing model, researching best practices from other jurisdictions, and engaging with key stakeholders such as municipalities and community organizations about policing services and community safety. Through these extensive engagements, key stakeholders, over 80 groups so far, have been consulted to date. Groups continue to inform the best way forward to ensure effective public safety in Newfoundland and Labrador. We're also pleased with the incredible response of the group's public survey that we just finished in December of 2024. There's been more than 4,400 engagements with the survey. Feedback is being considered as we speak right now and will inform the future work. We remain committed to replacing Her Majesty's Penitentiary. We continue to invest in temporary infrastructure improvements to increase staffing levels to ensure that the staff and inmates experience improved conditions and outcomes while we're waiting for the new facility to be completed. I would like to thank the staff of the province's correction facilities and the community service providers that work with them. Their jobs are not easy ones, but the work is very important and appreciated. I would also like to note that in February of this year, we passed a new Corrections Services Act, and regulations will be proclaimed. These long-awaited legislative changes, the regulations were proclaimed, The long-awaited legislative changes and regulations represent a significant step forward in a modern correction system that prioritizes safe, secure, and improved conditions for inmates and staff. With our court system, our province's court system is always looking for future ways for us to improve levels and quality of the services provided to the public and those that work within the system. Thank you to the judges, Crown attorneys, corrections officers, sheriff's officers, court officers, administrative staff, victim services, probationary services, as well as all those that contribute in any important role of the daily operations of the justice system. This year, through Budget 2025, $3.4 million is being allocated as part of a $24 million multi-year investment for new tools and technologies to enhance access to justice and strengthen public trust in the justice system. To support the continuum of justice in Newfoundland and Labrador, this multi-year investment supports 25 new corrections officers, 18 Crown attorneys, 14 new deputy sheriffs, and a manager of court services, the security, in Labrador. This funding is also supporting the digital transformation for the entire justice system, upgrading systems, hardware, software, and possessing processes to improve access to justice and streamlining service delivery. Our path towards reconciliation is through listening, understanding, and mutual respect. The provincial government acknowledges the wrongs of the past and focuses our attention on the matters that are important to Indigenous people. Through the independent inquiry into the treatment experiences and outcomes for Innu in the child protection system, we will acquire a better understanding of the treatment, experiences, and care that Innu children have received in the current system, and more importantly, how to improve in the future. The submission date for the final report for this inquiry has been extended to October 31st, 2026. The extension demonstrates our willingness to work with the independent inquiry to be responsive to the inquiry panel's identified needs for them to conduct their work properly. In Budget 2025, we're providing an additional $5 million to continue this work. Emergency services, we have approximately 6,000 volunteer firefighters who give of their time and talent to protect our families, homes, businesses throughout our province. This crucial role allows the rest of us to feel safe and protected at home. The reality is when people are running to the fire or running away from the fire, these individuals are running toward it. And it's more than just fires, it's motor vehicle accidents, medical calls, and other emergencies. We're all grateful for the many sacrifices that the firefighters, as well as their families, make to keep Newfoundlanders and Labradorians safe. I thank them for their dedication day in and day out. In saying that, we continue to prioritize funding for fire protective vehicles and equipment with a commitment of $3.7 million, which has doubled in the recent years. I would also like to highlight the provincial government invested over $4.2 million to replace over 400 self-contained breathing apparatuses, or SCBAs, units in 82 volunteer fire departments throughout the province. This is in addition to the annual funding that is provided to the emergency services branch. I'm getting close, almost done. With the changing climate, they're seeing more changing weather patterns, natural disasters, and emergencies. They are happening anywhere and everywhere, and we have first-hand knowledge of that right here at home. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the importance of the tremendous evacuation efforts that during the Churchill Falls and Labrador City wildfires last year, two of the largest evacuations in the province's history, were experienced almost back-to-back. I commend all those individuals who rose to the challenge to support others in the time of need, and I thank everyone for their tireless work, effort to protect and support our communities. As part of the emergency response to the Labrador wildfires, the government of Newfoundland and Labrador provided more than $3.5 million in emergency financial assistance to individual households, businesses, and other entities, including $3 million to over 3,000 households for primary residence was evacuated in order. About 180,000 to more than 360 employed and self-employed residents of Labrador City and Wabush whose employment was impacted by the wildfires, and 150,000 to 72 eligible businesses in Labrador City and Wabush that were impacted by the fires. I'm pleased to say the budget 2026 includes $3.5 million for disaster assistance. The province's disaster financial assistance program will help residential homeowners and tenants, small businesses, not-for-profit organizations and cooperatives, local authorities and public sector with uninsurable losses and damage caused by eligible disasters. And I want to stress that eligible disasters because I don't want to give people a false impression that if it's an insurable peril, you should be insured for it. And I encourage people to look with their provider to that. It's very important. Those are just a few highlights from Budget 2025 from the Department of Justice and Public Safety. We'll have some more exciting announcements to follow in the coming weeks and months. And I look forward to taking the questions from each and every one. And I think members of our opposition would like to start with Fire and Emergency Services area. I think that's 5.1.02, but I'm not the chair. But I will let the chair go in that direction.
Yes, I was just going to say my understanding is you have mutual agreement to start with Fire and Emergency Services. So prior to starting with the questions, I'm going to read I'm going to ask the clerk to read the fifth subhead.
For the Department of Justice and Public Safety, 5.1.01 to 5.1.05, inclusive fire.
Shall 5.1.01 to 5.1.05 inclusive fire and emergency services carry? The member for Grand Falls, Windsor, Buckens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll jump right into it, Minister. Minister, last year's budget included funding for the outside municipality boundary program. How much of this has been claimed?
Minister Davis.
I don't have that number right in front of me. I think I can get Debbie. $279,000.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Minister, what are the criteria which are used to assess the funding provided through that program?
Minister Davis.
I'll turn that over to Debbie on that one.
Assistant Deputy Minister Dunphy.
So any fire departments that register with the Fire Services Division and through the 911 office as well for response to motor vehicle accidents outside the municipal boundary are eligible to submit a claim to the Fire Services Division for reimbursement. But it is important to note that only one department can claim for an event.
Understandable. Thank you. Minister, if I could just Yeah, just come back to the SCBA's for 1 second. How many more SCBA units are due to expire across the province? Or have we cut them all?
Mr. Davis?
That's a very good question. I don't think there's any way for us to know that directly. When we reached out and gave a call to all the volunteer fire departments across the province to let them know that these SCBAs are expiring, these particular type. If you had them, you could avail of the program that we have. Some 82 communities, I think it was, over 400 SCBAs were replaced during that program at a cost of about over 4.2 million. I don't know how many more are out there that could be expiring. They keep track of that on a regular basis. This was a I don't like to say one-time deal, but we knew that this was a particular change that was happening with respect to this particular SCBA, and we knew that there was a significant number of them. Most of the SCBAs that would be expiring on a regular basis would be smaller numbers that can be planned for based on a request that could come in normally through the regular program, but this was a bigger deal from that perspective.
The member for Grand Falls, Windsor Buckets.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, we just talked about the boundary, municipal boundary, the compensation there. If two departments do show up to the same MVA, how do you decide which department would get that funding, that compensation?
Mr. Davis?
That's a very good question. We would hope that only one would be showing up to that particular site, but I will turn it over to our ADM responsible for that to determine, give an answer like give you on that.
Debbie Dunphy. So fire departments have identified their boundaries with the 911 service or the 911 office as well as fire commissioner's office. So that is who we would expect to respond. I guess if there is a mutual aid agreement and for some reason a fellow department responded in their absence, I think that would be acceptable. But again, it would be the expectation that the fire department that has that boundary is the one who would respond and would be eligible for the assistance.
Minister Davis?
And from my...
Wait, red light. Minister Davis.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add that from my visits with the volunteer firefighters across the province that I have had the opportunity to visit, I haven't seen them all, of course. It's been very well received, and they like the aspect that we've done that. We made that change because we knew that fire departments and municipalities were costing them money to go out and do things that are outside their boundary, and we felt the need to try to help them with that. And as you can see, they had 270 claims or so of that nature, which is impressive in and of itself, but we thank them for their work of taking care of us when they go out and do that work.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I just want to take a moment and just go to the funding that was allotted for this year. I know we've had some discussion about it before. Could you take a minute or so and just walk me through the process of how the final funding came to be? What meetings would have taken place? Who would have been at these meetings? When? Where? And finally, when did you get to the final assumption that this is going to be our funding after speaking with the fire commissioner and your wonderful staff?
Very good question. Do we want to wait until 5.1.04? Because that's coming up. It's not based in this. This is just the operation. I can't say just. It's the operation of the fire commissioner's office. I can see how you want to try to do it there, but there is actually a tab for that in 5.1.04, which would be FES vehicle and equipment.
Okay.
So if you want to wait to there, I can try to address it now if you like. I'm just trying to keep us on task.
I can move on to 5.1.02 now, emergency. Okay, that's fine. Minister, what is the status of the adoption of the province-wide emergency services radio system, which was supposed to be completed in June of 2024?
Thank you. The provincial-wide radio system is doing very well right now. We've got significant uptake. Obviously, we haven't got everybody in the entire province on that, but we've got a significant amount of services on it. Obviously, the RCMP, Canadian Coast Guard, Department of Fisheries and Oceans, Department of National Defence. We can give you a full list of who's on the list, as well as some interesting ones like, City of St. John's. But the full province is covered. We just haven't got everybody on the system yet because they're waiting to get the equipment to do it and obviously the time to go through. Because there's a training component that goes along with it. We have a staff that's doing very well with it. We've got over 9 staff that work on this on a regular basis. and they're doing some great work on expanding that. And the more we put on this, the better linkages and synergies we get throughout the province.
Thank you, Minister. Fantastic. In regards to transportation and communications, can you please outline why last year transportation and communications went over budget, spending $604,500? How was this year's budget of $559,800 determined for the discrepancy?
The increase for the budget would be for increased helicopter searches. That would be part of that. The contract, the rescue costs in the province would be transportation and communications. In addition to that, the provincial emergency air services program, that's the lion's share of where that would have come from. And obviously, based on the budget going to $559,000, that's reflection the new equipment that's been put in place for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Minister. In regards to federal revenue, what is the $10.8 million there to support? The federal revenue.
That is the collections from the radio system user fees from federal agencies.
Thank you, Minister. I can move on to 5.1.03, disaster assistance. In regards to professional services, why did professional services go over budget last year, spending $482,900?
Funding was provided for adjuster and auditor fees. That's part of that. The variance of why it went over by $300,000 was to do with transfer of property for residents with Hurricane Fiona impact zone, and the activation of NLDFAP in January 5th storm surge event. That's why we're budgeting that.
Thank you, Minister. In regards to purchase services, why did professional services go over budget last year, spending $131,400?
Related to the Labrador West fire response.
Thank you, Minister. In allowances and assistances, can you outline where the $24 million went last year and what the breakdown is for this year's $1.7 million?
Okay, the payments to residents and businesses for damages incurred during disasters, which would be eligible under the assistance from the Federal Disaster Financial Assistance Agreement, and that's the same for the variances that you would see in that whole section.
Thank you, Minister. And underneath grants and subsidies, can you outline where the $8.4 million went last year and what breakdown is for this year's $1.6 million?
Okay, so the 8.4 was provided payments to municipalities for damages incurred during the disasters in which they were eligible for that assistance of the Federal Disaster Financial Assistance Arrangement.
Thank you, Minister. I'll move on to 5.1.04, fire protection vehicles and equipment. How many requests for funding was received last year, and how much for trucks and how much for equipment? Breakdown.
Excellent question, and I'm glad you asked. Last year we had applications for vehicles about $19 million. Wow. That were requested. That was 45 different vehicle requests from communities. There was also 155 equipment requests from some same communities or some different communities, depending on what they required. That about another 9.1 million. So if you take that into consideration for a $3.7 million program, it was very much stretched pretty thin on those. But we did get the opportunity to approve 5 new pumper trucks, 6 used pumper trucks and vehicles. That was what was requested in many cases. A new tanker and a new pickup truck over that year. But like I said to you many times before, it's all about when you take the snapshot in time. Some of the trucks would have been, as an example, trucks. Equipment's a little different, like bunker gear and things like that. That's faster receiving. But we could order a truck today, and it may not be delivered for, leading out of COVID, it may be 3 years.
Yeah.
But now it's getting down to the 2-year mark. So, and hopefully it'll get down to even a quicker period where we request it for, whether it's Bonavista or wherever. From that perspective, like I had the opportunity to go to Avondale, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and they received their truck. That was in a 2022 request for a truck. So And you asked the question of how much trucks cost. It ranges depending on what the bells and whistles they want to put on the truck. But we're seeing recently an approved truck would be, say, we approve it at what the request is for the quote, at say $670,000 or $620,000, and it's coming in now because of the fear with tariffs and others and inflationary pressures. It's coming in somewhere around 780, 800,000. So, like, there's a significant increase, and we've seen another increase in that a couple of years ago. The members of this House would have seen that happened after COVID. That also spiked. But I mean, we're working toward that, and it's working with the communities and working with our fire commissioner's office to try to find what is the best use. And when someone gets a new vehicle, many times that vehicle that they have may not be good enough for the community they're in because of the use and the type of ability that they need it for, but it may be great for another community. So we've seen repurposing of those vehicles. We try to keep those vehicles in the community in similar communities in that region. So that's sort of, hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, there are some significant concerns regarding the allocation of fire equipment funding objectivity, particularly in the years 2022 to 2024. In rendering the decisions to allocate funding, is the Minister presented with a ranked list based on need, an actual hard copy paper ranked list?
Mr. Davis? No. There is no list that's ranked like that. As you see, the requests are far-reaching. So in that 19, let's use this year as an example, this past year, that 19 million would come in, and let's be very clear. A lot of the requests that people are asking for, I'm not here to say that, you know, the request that X community had versus another community is not warranted. I'm sure they all are. And we have a limited amount of resources. So you look at many of the things that I highlighted before, the mutual aid agreements, what kind of work they do, what's in the region next to them to make sure that they can cover off those things that happen on a regular basis. So I think that's where we're to. But to answer your question, there's no ranked list.
Thank you, Minister. If we could take a couple minutes now, maybe, and you could outline how this allocation gets out, like what happens beforehand, who's involved, how long before this process do these start? Is there minutes for these meetings that you have at the fire commissioner and their office? Can you break down how your department have come to the final decision for the allocation for this year, please?
Thank you. So the applications would be received. They've started even now. I mean, communities are, volunteer fire departments and municipalities are working on those applications for this fiscal year now, and in some cases have already submitted some. So they would be submitted. They would be vetted by them, looking at getting quotes for what they are looking for, whether it be bunker gear or equipment like a fire truck or a tanker or a rural response unit, all those things. They would look at that. They would submit that. They would tell us what their current allotment of equipment is. We would also know that because the fire commissioner keeps a very good handle on what each community has in their, I guess, in their equipment bank. So then those applications will come in. Those applications will come into the fire commissioner's office, and I'm looking to Debbie just in case if I misstep on one of these, I wanted to jump in and just clarify. So they will come into the fire commissioner's office. His staff, in this case, his staff would look at those and make sure that if they're asking for something that doesn't seem to fit with what they would need, they would go back and work with that community to say, okay, well, you're a community of 200 people, and there's a fire department right next door to you, just got a new pumper truck. Do you need a new pumper as well at $680,000? So they'll ask, do you use one? Or do you need a space cap with a pickup truck with a space cap to carry a pump? In some cases, they don't have fire hydrants, and you're asking for a pumper truck to come in when you'd have to take water out of a pond. Yep. That's not an ideal situation. So they would work with individuals to find those solutions and get it down to what the absolute need would be for the community. Then that list would come into our staff. They would look at that, and then we would sit down and have a conversation about, okay, well, this could be over 2 or 3 meetings, just getting together to say, okay, where are we to with how much is the requests in? And then they'll look at this and we'll say, okay, where is the problems that we see with each individual application, or where is the need that we can help in this region? So we look at it from a regional basis. If there's mutual aid agreements, if there's opportunities for us to find solutions within a fire department that's neighboring, or sometimes they'll ask for things that they don't actually, not that they don't actually need, but if you're not on the highway and taking out people that would be in accidents, well, you probably don't need the jaws of life as an example. So that's just one, that's the steps we go through from that. I don't know, Debbie, if I've missed any that you wanted to add in?
ADM Dunphy.
Hi, Debbie Dunphy. The only other thing I would say, Minister, is, and I think you captured it, is there are many conversations. So, you know, the fire commissioner will meet with myself and the minister after him and his staff have met. And, you know, through those discussions, there are often questions that we ask our fire protection officers to go back to the community and have further discussion. And again, we'll look at what's been recently awarded. Again, as Minister said, you know, the regional communities close by, any mutual aid agreements, all those things taken into consideration. And, you know, decisions are made, you know, with the best information that we have.
Thank you.
Okay, member's time has expired. Member for St. John's Centre.
Thank you, Chair. Just a few questions. With regards to the fire in Deer Lake, at the Deer Lake Hotel, I'm just wondering what lessons have been learned from that whole experience.
Thank you. That's an active investigation. I don't want to, you know, speak about that. I know that our fire commissioner is engaged in that. I think the RCMP are involved as well. That's as much as I'm willing to say about there. Obviously, we work with communities, and if communities or even businesses reach out to the fire commission office, they provide any type of advice or support that they can to help those. And I think it would be wrong of me to comment on an active investigation, but it's a very good question, and obviously whatever comes out of the investigation we'll look at the time and make appropriate decisions based on what would come out of that investigation.
All right, thank you. Chair, disaster assistance 5.1.03, and just wondering what outstanding, what if any outstanding disaster claims are included in this chunk of funding?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very good question. It's a moving target, let me say, because it depends on where we're to in the claims process. There's a significant amount of money that would be paid out to disaster that would be Fiona at the time. There would be applications that would be coming in for the February, I think, or January, is it? The January event? So there would be claims coming in for that will be assessed, and then we would look at that. I think maybe I can ask ADM Dunphy if she wants to, if there's any detail that she can give you that's better than that. It's just, I know it's a moving target all the time.
Before, Chair, just to clarify,
Member for St. John's Centre.
So in that, I'm in asking that question then, recognizing it's a moving target, I guess I'm also then looking at, you must have, I guess, an estimate as to worst case scenario versus, okay, where it is, but, you know, yeah, that's what I'm after as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll take a stab at the first one that you said, Mr. Din. I think anytime we look at a disaster, we look at what people are calling into our office, and then we'll make an assessment to say, okay, has it reached a particular threshold, which I think is 2 million. If we think it's going to reach that, that's when we'll put a call out to say it meets the threshold for the provincial program to come in. I guess we don't really know what we were going to get until we see the applications come in, but based on the calls that would come into our office, we look at and say, okay, well, this looks like it's going to go past the $2 million threshold. That would be the initial provincial boundary for what we would come into place for. And then when the applications come in, if that goes further than that, then we'll make the assumptions on how we're going to deal with that from there. But that, I mean, it is a target that we don't necessarily know exactly what we're going to see until all the applications are filed. And you don't need to look any further than Fiona with Port aux Basques in the southwest coast of the province. I mean, that was a moving target for a couple of years now. I'm sure Debbie's got the scars to prove it. So it is a challenge to determine exactly how much is going to be there until you actually see all the applications and actually get them paid out. So I'll turn it over to Debbie if she wants to add into any of that.
ADM Dunphy.
It's Debbie Dunphy. So what we have included here, Mr. Din, is some funding for the January 5th event based on the preliminary observations and applications that we received, but that process of the adjuster going out and doing the assessment and determining the amounts is ongoing now. There is also some funding here for some municipal infrastructure work still relating to Fiona and Hurricane Larry. The majority of the Hurricane Fiona assistance to individuals has concluded. So we've got about 2 left.
Member for St. John's Centre.
Then would you, knowing that these are extreme weather events probably related to, well, not probably, related to climate change, and we're probably going to have more of those, has there been an assessment of potential damages down the road? I guess, like, you know, if actuaries can determine what premiums you need to pay, I'm just wondering if you're looking at projection, okay, what are the potential costs and what do we need to be prepared for, especially in these cases? Because I'm assuming you know it's not going to be $1, but it could be, depending on each community, an assessment of what could be the potential damage.
Minister Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In my previous role as Minister of Environment and Climate Change, we would be looking at this through water resources and looking at that through storm surge and things that they would be looking at from Climate Change Canada, as well as our own department here in the province. So from our standpoint, and we're budgeting what we think can be, what we think is a possible or plausible number for that. I can't stand here today and say I'm going to be 100% accurate with that number, because I know we'll be wrong. Because maybe we won't have any disasters, and hopefully, God, we don't. But in any given year, you could have multiple disasters, like we had with wildfires, like we've had with Fiona, or like we had with our January storm, that storm surge that came in through parts of the province. So we don't know exactly how far-reaching those will be. We know they're going to be happening. We know there's going to be probably happen more often and be more severe. So, you know, that's what you have a contingency fund for as a government, to help in those cases, which is what we used. And that's why the federal government has a disaster relief fund as well, to help with us. So we budget what we think we can get through, knowing full well that if it meets a certain threshold, there's the federal government backstop that will help, as well as the provincial government will help on the smaller type events that would not reach the federal requirements. And I'll look to ADM if she wants to add anything, but I think I was partially okay on that answer.
Member for St. John's Centre.
I guess where I'm going with this, Chair, is, look, if I didn't have insurance on my house, I'd have to do a rough estimate as to what it's going to cost to replace and rebuild there and replace, you know, so I'd have to have some idea, or even in purchasing the insurance, what I'm going to need to cover that. And that's what I'm really asking there. What is the future assessment of potential monetary liabilities to the province in offering that? And I understand you got the federal backstop, but knowing that these are going to become more recent, and that's where I think maybe we should have a clear potential cost of these events. Just go on then with 5.1.03 with regards and related to the two wildfires in Labrador last June and July. And how much money went to help for residents evacuating the fires? And I'm looking at, I guess, the total cost overall destruction. I know there's money there that you can see the increases. I'm assuming they're related to it, professional services and the like, and professional services and operating allowances and assistance. I'm sure that's all tied to it. But I guess overall, what was the overall assessment of the damage? The damage to the resource, the disruption to business, to life, to sending people out. Any estimate as to what the total cost of those events were?
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. Very good question. I can say from a grants and subsidies standpoint, there's about $3.6 million. That's a small number, because I know it was more than that, because you're going to have the opportunity with fisheries, forestry, and agriculture, who would have a cost associated with that as well, because they would have the firefighters in the woods doing the work. You'll also have, you'll pick up some of that in with the RNC as well in the detachment that would be up there providing some support. You would also pick that up in a couple of other areas. So I could work to try to get you a number for that. Yeah. I don't have it readily available, but I do know that based on grants and subsidies that we had for assistance to roughly 3,300 households that came from JPS and IPGS as well, it was about $3.65 million. So.
And I guess overall, too, you're probably looking at lost wages, salaries, and so
Yes.
I'm assuming that's a lot more than 3.5 million.
That would be a very good assumption.
Yeah, significant. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay. Member for Grand Falls, Windsor Buckings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple questions left. One pertaining to 5.1.05, the NL 911. What is the current staffing at the 911 division, and how many staff and vacancies are there?
Minister Davis.
Total staff complement of 7. We have 3 contractual, 1 policy analyst, 1 administrative officer, and a project manager. I think we have one vacancy now. That's the one that's vacant that we're working on trying to fill.
Thank you, Minister. With the changes to the road ambulance system, more volunteer fire departments may be answering calls now and stuff. When they get low on supplies, or if they're using supplies for any of these calls, are they compensated some way by the government? I mean, these are small departments and they run very small budgets anyway. But if they're using gloves or any other equipment, the Department of Health, is there any compensation to these departments if they make a call when it comes to the health itself, health department?
Minister Davis.
Thank you. Very good questions. Not through our department, although when they apply for, I wouldn't say supplies, but when they apply for equipment like bunker gear and extraction equipment, those things would be permissible under our program. The consumables like that wouldn't be, but that's a question that probably be better directed to Health and Community Services when you have the estimates with them, but it's a very good question.
Thank you, Minister. If I could just come back to the allocation of funds again. We realize now it's a very comprehensive system that you do, you and your department do with the Fire Commissioner's Office about how you come up with this final decision. Is there a documentation of these meetings, of minutes for these meetings, of what's being said, what's being thrown out there, what's being brainstormed? Is there any sort of documentation whatsoever for these meetings that are being had before the run-up to this is the final allotment?
Minister Davis.
There's no minutes or documentation other than the documents that would have come in with the requests from the communities. And then there's for lack of a better term, a booklet that would have the equipment that's been requested. Like I said, those, I think it was 45 trucks that were requested at $19 million. That would appear in a format that would say, okay, here's the number of communities and here's what they're requesting and here's what they currently have in their system and here's what, the work they do. And then there would be, subsequent to that, there would be another, in the same document, I think, a separate one, but it's similar. They would have the departments ask for particular gear, what gear they would need. And just so we're clear, priority for equipment is things that if you're an offensive fire department, like bunker gear is an important piece for anything. So like if people are asking for bunker gear, we're working very hard to try to get them the bunker gear they require.
Sure.
SCBAs would be very important. You can't fight a fire if you can't breathe.
That's right.
So like it's very important that we get those. So we prioritize things that people are asking for. Sometimes departments are asking for things that are a wish list like we all would want, but like that's not doable with the amount of funding that we have. I'm always advocating for more resources. To try to help more. I'd love to be able to say, and I quite honestly say this to every fire department there, I'd like to say yes to everybody.
Of course. Yep.
Because they do fantastic work, and there's no reason to believe that if they didn't get it this year, that doesn't mean they're not going to get it next year. A prime example of that would be in Trinity, as an example. Is Trinity, right? Yeah. Where we had to play, there was a truck that went off the road a year before, and it happened, so we got to try to replace that. So that's what we did this year. And sometimes emergency things happen. Mm-hmm. Like you'll be in the fire department and you go to get some work done on your truck and you find out that it's not roadworthy anymore. and we get the call at the 11th hour to say, my truck is not working and I can't get the pumper, I can't fill up from the pond because I can't get a truck down there. What are we going to do? So then we've got to try to pivot as quick as we can, so that's what we try to do. Sometimes that happens in locations where you don't plan for it. So it's through the application process, but I mean, it's a very quick thing.
Thank you, Minister. So is there a documented priority list itself?
No priority list, because they're all priorities.
Good answer. Minister, the last question. Is there anything of documentation within the Fire Commissioner's office that they would have passed along to you that would be separate from your department that they would have themselves? Documentation?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't necessarily see each individual application. The applications are vetted by them, and then they would be cataloged, for lack of a better term, to say what the ask is. So like an application could be 5 pages, and I don't see the 5 pages of the application and the quotes that are associated with that. They go through that, and then they break the quote out to say, here's the value of what it is what they're looking for. This is the type of truck they're looking for. Actually with pictures too, which is nice because I have no idea what a pumper looks like other than when I've gotten to this job. So it gives you an idea of what they're looking for, and then the cost associated with that and what the need would be. So if Department X just got a new pumper truck 3 years ago, well, the likelihood of them getting through another pumper or something similar to that, unless something happened that they required it because of an emergency situation. But most departments are planned enough where they come in to say, okay, we'd like to have this over the next number of years, so let's start applying now. And they're very understanding when we call them, not me specifically, but the Fire Commissioner's office say, listen, they understand that there's not a limitless amount of money here to do that. So they're trying their best to come up with that. And some departments go their own way and fund it themselves completely. Like Pooch Cove, I've been down there and they showed me, they were really proud of the truck they bought completely by themselves. Yep. No aspect from us at all. Yep. Right? So.
Perfect. Thank you, Minister. That's all I have.
Okay. Any further questions? No? Seeing no further questions, I now ask the clerk to recall the subhead.
5.1.01 to 5.1.05 inclusive, fire and emergency services.
Shall 5.1.01 to 5.1.05 inclusive, fire and emergency services carry? All those in favor? All those against? Carried. I now ask the clerk to recall the first subhead.
1.1.01 to 1.3.01 inclusive, executive and support services.
Shall 1.1.01 to 1.3.01 inclusive, executive and support services carry? The member for Harbour, Maine.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of the Department of Justice officials who are present here today. And I can say I think this is my 7th Justice and Public Safety budget estimates. And I've always been very impressed with the quality of answers, the expertise involved, and the fact that there's been such a willingness by the minister in the past and the officials to really cooperate and try to answer the questions. Willingness to cooperate. So I really appreciate this because this is a very important part of the entire budget process. And so getting into the subhead 1.101, transportation and communications. Last year there was an overage of $40,900 that was spent. Could you please, Minister, provide a rationale for that?
Oh, the $15,000 over. That was increased travel based on cost of travel, inflation for one. But we have 3 ministerial equivalents federally that we would have to go to meetings with. That would be ministerial meetings, FTPs, that would result in additional travel. Some departments only have 1. We have 3 that we answer to federally. So they have 3 different meetings throughout the year.
Member for Harbour, Maine.
And Mr., who would that be, those ministers? Those federal ministers? You said they're departments. What departments would that be?
Fire and Emergency Services would be one. I don't know the federal title for it, but it would be Emergency Preparedness. It would be the Minister of Justice and Attorney General and the Public Safety.
Okay.
So that's the three.
Thank you, Minister. Also, with 1.201 executive support under transportation and communication, last year there was an overage there as well. $77,600 was spent. Can you please provide a rationale, Minister, under 1.201 executive support?
Yeah, so that's a similar answer to what would be before. It would be increased travel based on the departmental business for the FTPs because they would provide support at that table as well. They would have their own deputies tables as well. This also would be in policing transformation working group consultations for the executive lead that would be traveling, as an example, for meetings in Labrador that they would have had.
Thank you, Minister. Under 1.202, administrative and policy support, first of all, with respect to the Intimate Partner Violence Intervention Court, could you please advise us how many are currently in that program and how many have completed it?
Thank you. I'll answer initially, and then I'll turn it over to Michael to give a little bit more detail. So we've seen some success in that area. We've operated in St. John, Stephenville, and Grand Falls, Windsor. Obviously, it's working with John Howard Society, of course, and other stakeholders that would be involved in that. And we see doing specialty courts as an example of how you can expand and get the access to justice in a more timely fashion. Also, the correct justice for the cause action that would be there. And I'll turn it over to Michael, who can give you a little bit more specifics on that. But I mean, I think we've got numbers of 31 have completed the program in St. John's, 4 completed the program in Grand Falls, 9 completed the program in Stephenville, and then I can give you the current people that are in the program as well, not their names, of course, but there's 26 in the program in St. John's that are currently under that program, 8 in Grand Falls, Windsor, and 8 in Stephenville. And I'll throw it over to Michael if there's anything else he would like to add.
Mike Noseworthy.
Thank you. Just a couple of things I'd add to build on to the Minister's comments, and that is that the Intimate Partner Violence Intervention Court that he mentioned the numbers for in Grand Falls, Windsor, that court opened pretty recently, just in August 2022, and that court also has a screening court available for people who live in Gander as well. There's also a screening court for the Stephenville Intimate Partner Violence Intervention Court that exists in Corner Brook, just to expand that coverage to people who live in those areas but don't live in the exact center where the court is.
Thank you. And I can see from last year that the numbers have increased, and so that's good to see. I also like to know if there's been an evaluation of any kind of the Intimate Partner Violence Intervention Court, an evaluation completed, for example, to determine if it's meeting, its mandate and the goals that it needs and helping people. So just wondering if there's been any type of evaluation to measure that.
Minister Davis.
Very good question, and I don't use the word constant, but it's a consistent evaluation process that we're looking at there. There's always an opportunity for us to look for improvements if we see them. So we see that this is working very well based on the numbers, and you see in Grand Falls, Windsor, it coming up since just August, seeing those numbers and helping those individuals that would need that type of intervention. So I would see this is more of an opportunity to expand over time to other centres, because I think this is positive. But if Michael would like to add anything to that, because he's more intimately involved with each of the sections within the court.
ADM Noseworthy.
No, I think, Minister, you captured it well. We are constantly evaluating, and you'll see from the history, like I mentioned, when those specialty courts opened, we're constantly evaluating and looking at potential for expansion, and as well as the possibility of those screening courts. So that's something that's happened throughout. We do also have funding for a policy position that has recently been hired to do an evaluation of all of those specialty courts. So that position has recently been filled, and that would be in addition to all the ongoing performance monitoring that the minister mentioned there.
Thank you. And speaking of specialty courts, I'll move to the mental health court. How many people are currently in that program, and how many have completed that as well? I understand that's in St. John's.
Thank you. Yes, the statistics that we have, there's 8 completed the program, and there's 9 currently in the program right now. Obviously, we're reassured that those individuals are receiving the type of justice continuum that they need. Is my suggestion in this. I think it's a positive specialty court. Everywhere I go with my federal colleagues, when I see them or talk to them, this is the way of the future for justice, I would think, looking at specialty courts on how we're going to deal with individuals that are at the most vulnerable in our society. And if we can support them in particular ways, that's what we're going to continue to do. So just for the statistics you asked for, 8 completed the program and 9 currently in it.
Thank you. And again, the same question with respect to evaluation of this court. So if it's been determined, if it's meeting its objectives, has there been any way to measure or evaluate that?
The exact same answer that we had, that position that we just hired recently, that's going to be evaluating all the 3, the specialty courts that we have. They're going to continue to look at that. In addition to the performance monitoring we do already ourselves, this is just an extra ability to see, okay, what can we do better if we need to do better? What can we do to support more? And how can we expand it further if that's what is required? Where to expand next? And it's just the next step in what we're doing. That position is an important piece for us for developing the future of these.
And has there been any decision with respect to expanding the mental health court outside of St. John's?
No, not at this time, but that's the first step in the person that we've put in place. They're going to be looking at what options are there. Is there more expansion that we could do to encourage more individuals through that court here? And is there any support where we have satellites or other opportunities across the province where we see that options that could come?
Thank you. With respect to the drug treatment court, same question. How many people currently in that program and have completed?
Thank you. The drug treatment participants, this is in 3 different areas in St. John's. There's 6 participants right now. 4 people have completed. Corner Brook, 3 participants. We have none completed, and in Grand Falls we have 1 right now in participating in that program.
Okay. And is there
Member's time is expired.
Oh, okay.
Member for St. John's Centre.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, how many people are currently employed in the department, and how many positions are currently vacant?
Thank you. I can get this information for you as well, but there's 1,875 positions as of March 31st, 2025. I can give the breakdown of permanent, temporary, because I think that would be your next question. It's 1,381 permanent, 356 temporary, and 138 contractual. And over the time frame, if I can be so bold as thinking where you're going to go with that, the vacancies as of March 31st, 2025 would have been 280.
And Chair, where would these would it be possible to have a breakdown of where the vacancies are exactly? Thank you. And I presume, Chair, that Minister, that the department is still using zero-based budgeting. Okay.
Yes, the department is still using zero-based budgeting. I can get. I don't think I have a list of where the vacancies are. I'm looking. Patty, do we have a list of the vacancies? No, we can get you a list of where the vacancies are. We're as I said, we're an operational department, so there is movement within the department. Those are not, some of them are not very long-term vacancies. They just happen that they moved into a different position. We're backfilling those positions. There is an opportunity for recruitment, and I may take the opportunity now, when with all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are watching and listening, or listening, not watching, to take the opportunity to say, if you're interested in working in justice and public safety, please send your resumes to us. We'd love to have you. It is it's an awesome place to work, and we would love to have you apply.
Thank you. What work has been accomplished in the past year on the implementation of the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ People National Action Plan that was released on June 3rd, 2021?
Can I get that? Sorry, can I get that repeated? I didn't have my earpiece in.
Sure thing.
And you're speaking a little low, which is not uncharacteristic for you.
No, it's not. Keeping calm, protecting my voice. What work has been accomplished in the past year on the implementation of the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ People National Action Plan that was released on June 3rd, 2021?
Minister Davis.
Thank you. We have led significant work in that. There's 196 recommendations contained in Hear Our Voices report. We're working through those. Obviously, I can give you an update on what we've got completed or working on. Focuses on relationship building between GNL, Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and Indigenous women to address the root causes of the inequality. That's going to be partially in another department as well, but we work very closely together in ministerial committees, so we're going to continue to do that. Obviously, when we receive reports like this, we take it very seriously, and some of the recommendations are easier to implement than others. It just changes in how we do things. So we're going to continue to work towards that end. I hope that answers your question. I can get you a little bit more of a detailed answer on that about what specific ones have been completed and what we're in process on.
If I may then, of the 196 recommendations, how many of them are the responsibility of your department, of the Justice and Public Safety, and of those that your department will be responsible for, how many of those have been completed, or just about completed? But completed, we'll start with those that are completed.
Minister Davis?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't have that here on my fingertips. I will endeavor to have that for you, and I'll look to which of those 196 are ours in our department, and I'll give you a breakdown of where we're to in the completion of those, and what the plan is. Not necessarily what the plan is, because we're working towards all of them, I would assume, but my suggestion is I'll have that for you. I don't have it here.
Thank you. And part of that, Minister, then I guess not only, but I guess the anticipated timeline by which you would have those completed for your department, if that's possible as well. Okay.
Yeah, we can add that to our list to get to you.
Thank you. Would it be possible to have an update on the work of the Policing Transformation Working Group?
Absolutely. I love talking about the Policing Transformation Working Group. That was established in November of 2023. It was a previous minister who had the foresight to put some really good working commitments together. The Policing Transformation Working Group was mandated to evaluate the current policing model that we have in the province, conduct public engagement, which we've had very good success on, provide ongoing advice, and ensure Newfoundlanders and Labradorians receive the most effective and efficient policing services as possible, considering the best practices in other jurisdictions as well. So that was their mandate. They've had extensive consultations across. I expect that there will be a what we heard document from that consultation in the near future. It's a significant a body of work. There's 4,400 interactions that were involved in that survey that was out there. So that's unheard of in government standpoint for us to be able to get that kind of engagement, which is a testament to how important it is for the public. So we're going to continue to look at that. They're looking at examples of the evolving profile of crime, oversight and accountability, how that looks. We brought pieces of legislation to the House of Assembly on police oversight that we had great debates on here. Looking at that, that's comes out of the Policing Transformation Working Group, looking at ways in which how we could look at recruitment and retention, what other aspects we could look at for community policing. All of those things are going to be what we look at with respect to this Policing Transformation Working Group. I'm very pleased at the amount of work and engagement they've had publicly, and I look forward to hearing from them and seeing what comes next.
Thank you. Minister, earlier you had announced Law Enforcement Oversight Commission legislation. I'm just wondering the proposed changes and how they compare to the proposal that was put forward by First Light for a civilian oversight commission of the police services.
Thank you. Very good question. We worked very closely with stakeholders in the development of that piece of legislation, looked at best practices across the country, worked with our police forces to look at that, looked at the RCMP who had some oversight processes in place, and we just wanted to make the process a little easier for the public to be involved in. We improved that oversight and discipline by an independent commissioner. They can initiate an investigation without a complaint if they think it's systematic or a systemic problem within the RNC. And they'll be publishing, which is an interesting piece that I think people glossed over a little bit, the de-identified summaries of the investigations, which is really important because that adds another piece of accountability and oversight, so that because I think people in the public perceive that that there's more nefarious activities happening within the police force than there actually is happening. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to open the blinds and make sure people see what actually is, when we see there's 25 complaints as an example, and I'm just picking that out of the year, so don't quote me for the 25 complaints. But if there's 25 complaints, that could be 15 or 18 or 20 of those complaints could be late for work, or could be they were rude to me because they gave me a ticket. And some of those things are going to be picked up when we add body-worn cameras to the RCMP's repertoire as well, right? Because that's not only for protection of the people that we all represent and people that the RNC and RCMP are servicing, it's also for the protection of the officers. And from what I hear from them and what I hear from the general public is that day is going to be a very positive day for everybody. When we see it going through the RCMP now, I think it's through 70 or 80% of the RCMP detachments. We're in conversations with the RNC now about looking at how we can best implement those tools for the betterment of the people in the community.
So, Minister, are you saying that this is a civilian oversight committee?
What I'm saying is it's a step in that direction. This is a civilian-led commissioner who will determine when you come in with a one-window opportunity for someone to make a complaint. A lot of, I guess, people don't know exactly how, previously didn't know exactly how to make a complaint about a police officer. Now they have one window where they can come in to the independent public commissioner or civilian commissioner, who will look at it and then determine if it can go in two different directions. It can go as this is a HR matter internal to not of public interest right now, and go to the chief to look at, or it can be of public interest and have some benefit for it to be investigated by the commissioner and their team. So then that's the two aspects of it. And I think that's clarity for the public. I think it's clarity for the police officers. It's clarity for the commissioner. And it's clarity for some of the stakeholders that we met with leading into this are happy with the steps we've taken. And obviously some would want you to go further, and I can appreciate that too. But as I've always said, you got to walk before you can run.
The member's time has expired. The member for Harbour Main.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So returning to the drug treatment court, is there an expansion of the drug treatment court planned? Because I believe in estimates last year, one of your officials said there was a focus on expanding the court to Central and Western. Has that been completed?
So as we did with Grand Falls Windsor, so it's in Central there now, which is good, and we see that there's one participant taking part in that now. That individual that we hired, that we mentioned, is looking at those 3 specialty courts, as I've said, and that's going to provide some good insight into where expansion should be if we need to, or if we let them develop a little further before we move into the expansion. We're always considered looking at those options, and I'll turn it over to ADM Noseworthy to expand on what I've said, because he'll correct anything I didn't say that was correct.
ADM Noseworthy.
Thank you. No correction necessary, Minister, but thank you. I just wanted to add, to follow up on the member's question in reference to last year. And you'll notice, obviously, that number of 1 participants is quite low. That court only recently opened, so that is the expansion that you're referring to last year. It opened in January of just this past year, so that's the expansion.
Okay. Thank you, ADM Noseworthy. The tobacco class action litigation, could you please provide an update on that case, the tobacco class action litigation?
Yes, thank you. We know we're getting closer to the end of that process. I know it's been a significant time coming, and I know that Denise has done a lot of work in this area, so I'll throw it over to Denise if she wants to give a little bit more of an update. But hopefully stay tuned on where we're going to be going on that in the next little bit.
Denise Woodrow.
So the tobacco's been ongoing since 1998. So this year, it's got sanctioned through the CCAA court. So there's a settlement of $24 billion going to provinces. Newfoundland and Labrador will get a percentage of that $24 billion. It's based loosely on population and health care cost recoveries. Percentage is about 2.187%.
So I guess the easy answer is...
Minister Davis.
Sorry, the easiest answer is...
Minister Davis.
Oh, sorry. The easiest answer is stay tuned for the 3rd time.
Okay, thank you. So, yes, just to be clear, so the $24 billion going to the provinces, and you say that's 2.187%? Of that is expected to come to Newfoundland and Labrador?
Denise Woodrow. I asked,
Sorry.
wait for your light.
Denise Woodrow. It's approximately around $500 million.
Thank
Minister Davis.
I'd like to add that that's over a number of years. It's not going to be, if I don't have the years in front of me, but we can get that information for you. There will be potential announcement on that anyway over the next little bit anyway. When we're getting to the point now where we can actually ascertain the exact amount that we will be getting, as well as less legal fees and things that would be. This was started when I was just graduating high school. So it's been on the go a long time. So there is legal fees that would be need to be accounted for in that, as you're well aware. So I would say stay tuned. It won't be very long.
Okay, thank you. The mobile mental health crisis team, I'm wondering if you could please provide a breakdown of how many teams are now fully staffed and operational.
Minister Davis.
We can get back to you with that. That I don't have it here at my fingertips, but we can get back to you with that data.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Minister. Also, under 1.203, Legal Information Management, I noticed last year when there was discussion about the Police Transformation Working Group, or the team, I think it was indicated that salaries were included there for the 5-person team. That was reflected in that budget item. So I just have a couple of questions about that. So the Police Transformation Team, that is comprised of 4 individuals. Is that correct?
Sorry. could you give me the section that you were looking at again?
It's,
Sorry?
it's 1.203, legal information management under salaries. I think there was a reference last year. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a reference there with respect to the salaries that were included for the 5-person transformation, police transformation team. Is that correct?
Sorry, Patty Hurley. The salaries for the police transformation team is under admin policy 1.0.02.
Okay, well, I'll get to that then. So with respect to, I think I just have a few more questions for the subhead. 1.301, fines administration. What is the current value of the outstanding fines?
Minister Davis.
The outstanding fines as of February 28th, 2025 is $51.671 million. It's not a number I'm very proud of.
No, I wouldn't be either. So,
do you want me to give you a breakdown of where that's to?
Well,
I got it in front of me, so it's just well for me to
you
do
might
it.
as well. Yes, go ahead.
Just for full clarity. 39.2 is fines receivable. 3.5 is late payment penalties. 8.8 is victim fine surcharges. 346,000 tickets and 136,000 unique individuals responsible for those tickets. But outstanding fines that we've been able to collect, which has been nice, is 9.7 million. So I'm happy that there, and if I'm sitting here next year, that number is going to be significantly higher and the other one's going to be lower.
I would agree with that too.
Yes.
Because for a couple of years now, there has been much discussion about the fine options program. Last year, it was indicated that regulations were being drafted. Is there a more recent update?
No, I don't have one here that I'll talk to Michael. He's responsible. He's the ADM responsible for fines administration as well. So I'll throw it over to Michael. He's got a little bit more of the detail on that for you.
Thank you.
ADM Noseworthy.
So the fines admin division continues to look at the best ways to ensure they have the right mechanisms in place to collect outstanding fines. That division has been focusing on encouraging individuals who have overdue outstanding fines to enter into payment arrangements whenever they're able to, and staff in the division are available to discuss those options with anyone who has overdue fines. We currently have 407 active payment arrangements set up, and as the minister referenced, we collected over $97 million in fines in the last fiscal year. Sorry, 9.7. Also want to add that the implementation of the new on-demand call center by fines admin that was recently put in place enables the handling of increased call volumes, which we also hope will lead to improved revenue and collection outcomes on that front as well.
Thank you, ADM Noseworthy. And I recall for the last number of years, the answers have pretty much been consistent in terms of when I ask about the fine options program. And, although these efforts that you've mentioned certainly do provide some assistance, when we're looking at a huge $51 million, clearly more has to be done there. So I'm just wondering if you could commit to a timeline with respect to the fine options program, because we can all agree on the importance and value of having such a program to address this massive amount of outstanding fines.
Yeah, thank you. I can't commit to a timeline here today, but what I can say to you is that number is something that I want to improve on. Some of those that fine number is significantly old, and there's got to be ways that we deal with that as well. Some of those individuals you're not going to be able to collect from some of those. So there is some ability for us to have to do write-offs on that, and I hate to say that word because there's some that you're never going to collect on that list. So it's better for us to be transparent and open about that here, and that's why I'm saying it to you. But I also believe there's the more payment options that people have and the more ability it is for easy to make those payment plans, that's going to help. And part of what's going to help is what I've mentioned earlier about the digital transformation within the Justice Department. That's going to be in fines administration as well. So that's going to take over the next number of years. There's going to be significant improvements in how we do things, whether that be cameras that are going to be on helping slow traffic down and people issue tickets that way. Those are things that we're going to be doing with ensuring that we have the right complement of staff to do that work and digitizing those operations, because you want to try to make it as easy as possible and get those payment options for people to pay very quickly.
Okay. Member's time has expired. The member for St. John's Centre.
Thank you, Chair. Early on, I think in the opening comments, Minister, you talked about, I guess, the money or the funding that was going into the police forces for public safety enforcement, whether it's equipment, vehicles, and so on and so forth, expanding the number of officers and such like. And I guess in many ways I would say, not saying that's not a good thing, but in some ways it's treating the symptoms of and not the issue. So, and I'll ask it this in this way. I would assume here that I'm looking at the collaboration that your department has with other departments, whether it's health and community services, the education department, CSSD, and others. And I use the example, I keep going back to this example because it's probably the clearest one of in St. Thomas in Ontario, where Indwell, a supportive housing organization, moved in to the point the effect was so great. It was a high crime area, but the crime dropped so significant that the police force, they had to redirect their resources elsewhere. And I've seen the crime go up in my district significantly in the last 5 years, but there's also been an increase in poverty, a lack of supports, and so on and so forth. We had the shooting of Omar, and I'm just thinking another person who's in my district. So I'm just trying to think here that you've got the mental health courts and so on and so forth, but I'm just wondering, in terms of as part of a harm reduction, but also a safety issue, the kind of collaboration that takes place with other departments in a coordinated effort. I would assume that for some of the people who might come under the purview of the justice and/or enforcement, they're also part of receiving services from CSSD and some of the other. I can tell you in education, students I've had are probably receiving services from more than one. They're in trouble with the law. They're probably under. They've been in the youth correctional center. You name it. So I'm just looking at the kind of collaboration there as part of that overall strategy.
Minister Davis.
Thank you, and I agree. Social determinants of health is something that we're wrestling with here, not necessarily in this department, although we work very closely with health and community services and CSSD and education. We sit on multiple committees together where we've got relationship First NL, which is doing some restorative justice initiatives that is funded across a couple of different departments that we deal with. All of those are in an attempt to try to get to the individuals before we actually get them into the justice system themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think investments like you mentioned in housing and wraparound supports are things that we're doing. But obviously, there's people that are within that justice system now and that are causing those problems within the system. So we're working very closely to try to align ourselves with the social determinants of health, trying to work with poverty reduction, trying to work with housing. We've got Health and Corrections now, which is doing some great work. Subcommittees that work together to address the criminal factors that would be part of why people are making those decisions that they're making. And there's a variety of reasons. I think we can't. I think some people jump to judge why someone makes a decision, a bad decision, but without knowing what the things that led that decision to. That's why I'm such a big supporter of the GLADU reports that we're doing within Justice and helping to fund and continuing to expand on. I think that's an important piece for us all. So I guess to answer your question is, you're right in that we're solving a symptom of something by investing in policing services, because we've got to at where we are right now. But I think as we go forward on a longer term basis, hopefully we can get to those social determinants of health, which will make it much more, less people to have to deal with in the future.
And if I may, Chair, I'll use the example. This was in the news with Susan Evoy in my district. The gentleman who was living in the house next door was receiving funding from several departments, government departments, to the tune of almost $4,000. Eventually, because the response was, well, call the police if you see something suspicious. So it was put back, I think, unfairly on the police in this case, and they were at their wits' end. But in meeting with the departments, it was very clear that when they asked the question, did you check on them, on this person, like the kind of supports were inadequate, they said, well, it's not our job, we just pay the money. But there was a silo, and I would say, in the end, what happened to this gentleman, as far as I know, he ended up back in jail. That should never have happened. But I would say there cannot be a police response, but there are other measures there that were, I would say, inadequate. So that's where I'm going with this, okay? When I'm looking at I think we could have saved ourselves a lot of money and probably done a better job to help this person, and also, you know, and there's more like that. So that's where I'm going with that. But I would like to see, I guess, more that collaboration and not just simply a police response to things, because there's a lot of underlying problems. If I may, with 1.2.02, have all recommendations made in the Auditor General's report into adult custody and community corrections in December 22 been completed, and if not, which remain outstanding?
Just trying to get back there. Just give me 1 second.
No problem.
Mr. Davis.
I'm going to pass it over to Lorelei.
Lorelei Roberts.
Lorelei Roberts. In terms of the Auditor General's report, that was in 2022, and there were 6 recommendations. 6 recommendations are either complete or in progress, and there's quite a bit of work that's been done on them.
Thank you. Which, if any, then remain outstanding? Are they all being worked on, or how many are completed of those 6?
Lorelei Roberts.
Lorelei Roberts. In terms of what remains outstanding is the policies. There was 33 subsections for case management policies, and 6 have been fully drafted for near completion. 6 additional subsections have been added and are fully drafted, so there's active work ongoing with policy work. In terms of training, there's ongoing training. In terms of recommendation 4, which was programming, there is work ongoing with John Howard Society on that. In terms of release planning, that's ongoing. There has been much success with regard to joint protocols for those released to community corrections or community, and there's more work underway in that. In terms of supervision and compliance, those ones are addressed.
Okay, thank you. Is the department currently looking into training for lawyers to prevent them from re-traumatizing victims or survivors of violent crime when they testify in court? Where are we with that?
Mr. Davis.
There's constant training that is done, not just for, I'll speak I guess, globally, with all members in the Department of Justice, whether they be lawyers, Crown attorneys. I know the judges in Provincial Court and Supreme Court and Court of Appeal are always doing training to help in those areas. Now, not specifically for that, but not exclusively for that either. So there is opportunities for them to receive training. And I probably pull together a list of what's been done from the provincial court side, because I've seen that and talked to them about it. And I know our staff in our departments receive training on a regular basis for a variety of different things. And yeah.
Thank you. Has the department done any preparatory work to amend the proceedings against the Crown Act? This was discussed last year as part of the amendments needed to deal with such cases as Jack Whalen's.
Mr. Davis?
I'd also like to add to the previous one, I think, for some more clarity. I think the Law Society also regulates the lawyers as well, so they require them to have training that would be in this case as well. So, and I can also go over to Lisa if she would like to add anything, or if anything needs to be added that would add a bit more clarity for your previous question.
Lisa Stead.
Lisa Stead, DPP and ADM criminal. Crown attorneys get training every year. There's requirements under the Law Society, but we do a lot to train as well. We send Crown attorneys, numerous Crown attorneys every year to Crown School, which is run by the Ontario Crown Association. We're invited there. We go. There's specialized topics such as sexual violence, interpartner violence, crimes against children. So Crown attorneys do those topics. And as well, we have an AGM every year where we cover different topics, but always have victims' issues as part of our agenda. So I can speak to Crown attorneys. With respect to other lawyers, yes, the Law Society has requirements about CLE, and that would relate to their practice areas. And some of that is self-directed. And I know as well Legal Aid does a meeting every year. I would imagine they have some training, but I can't speak to what that is. And the judge does regulate the courtroom, and we are aware from news releases from judges' organizations that they do continuing education. They have yearly meetings as well, and I think they address these issues as well, just to add to what the minister said.
Okay, the member's time has expired. The member for Harbour Main.
So that concludes my questions for that subhead.
Okay. Member for St. John's Centre.
If I may just pick up on that one, because I still have the proceedings against the Crown Act. But with regards to, the training, we presented, the petitions we presented were obviously, when we presented them, all the measures that have been listed here were in place previous to that. Would that be fair to say? The various training that, when it comes to the judges who are in control of the court, there's a conference and so on. All those measures were in place prior to our petitions, or have they come about since?
Minister Davis.
Sorry.
Yes, sorry. I'd want a little bit more clarity. If you could just tell me since.
So when we presented these petitions, and we talked about the fact that survivors of sexual assault were traumatized, I'm asking then the examples that you gave, that were just given with regards to the measures that are in place. Were they the result of the petitions, or did they exist before the petitions were presented? And if I may, if they were in place before the petitions were presented, it would suggest that the measures are not far enough, not enough. They're insufficient and inadequate. So I think even in the petition there are some very clear examples of what not to do. And keep in mind, these petitions were the result of people who compiled by people who had actually been through the process.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah, thank you. I know from the conversations I've had with the chief judge for the provincial court that they're focused on training significantly, making sure that judges are as best trained as they possibly can be based on based on jurisdictions, based on changing aspects of the law, changing ways in which you deal with individuals like you've described through your petition. So I don't want to say that it was in relation to your petitions, because I think it started before that, but I also think that they change on a regular basis to meet the need of what's going on in the public, right? So an example would be judges receive training on sexual assault on a regular basis, and that's one of the things that they're very proud of, that they're trying their best to ensure that the judges have the best experience and training that they can, based on what's changes that are happening, not just in our province, although they look at that, not just in our own country, which they look at as well, but also around the globe. So I know that they're looking at that, but we can get some more information about that for you after this process as well.
Appreciate it. With regards to the other question, was that, has the department done any preparatory work to amend the proceedings against the Crown Act? And this was discussed last year as part of the amendments needed to deal with cases such as Jack Whaling's.
Thank you, and I'll pass that over to Denise, who will give us an update on that as well. Thank you.
Denise Woodrow, Legal Services. Work is ongoing.
Work is ongoing. Thank you. I have, the last question deals with fines and administration. So 51.71 million in outstanding, and just make sure I understand this, 9.7 million collected. Would that be correct? 9.7 million yes. Collected, and the rest is either about to be written of or in the process of being collected. So of the 9.7 million that's collected, how outstanding were those fines? Are they more than a year old, more than 2 years old? I'm just trying to get an idea of the
Minister Davis,
the 9.7 in particular.
To answer your question, yes. They would be. Some would be relatively quick, within the last year. Some will be a couple of years old. I can get you the breakdown of that. I think I can get you some more information about details on how long some of those fines would be outstanding before we collected them. I can also get probably some information around how long some of these, that 51,671,500 has been outstanding, because there is a portion of that would be outstanding more longer term. That number is a snapshot in time. As I said, every day there's more, and there's more that's paid. As ADM Noseworthy said, or Michael as I prefer to call him, he said there's about 407 payment plans that we want to continue to push to get those money collected that can be collected. And as I said, as I committed to MHA Ottenheimer here today, I want to see that number down significantly lower and collections up higher.
Okay, so if I may, Chair, I guess where I'm going with it, like, it's someone who is given the ticket and he's convicted of it, he has to pay the fine in January, but doesn't have to renew his license until November of that year. That's an outstanding fine. Chances are, though, that person is going to, I'll pay that off when I go to renew my license, okay?
Correct.
So, to me, that's not, that would be typical. You know, you're going to get that within a year. I guess what I'm looking at is that most of those, 9.7 was probably what most of the people who are going to pay, I would assume, without having to go to a collection agency. They're probably paying it up anyway. But that still leaves, that's roughly, if I look at it, collected 20% overall, about 80% of the fines, and that's 9.7 of 51.67 million. So that's 20%. 407 active payments are open. Is this part of that 9.7, or is that? And I guess how? And if not, how much money does that amount represent of that 51.671 million of those those active payments that are open?
Yes, the payment arrangements will be part of the outstanding fine, so there will be a portion of those collected. that would be outstanding currently. Some of that would have been through some of those collections through March 31st of that 9.7 would be part of that 407 as well. Some would have been collected. That would have been a portion of those. The others that are not collected as of yet, say, I'll use you as an example, say you owe $1,000 and you made a payment plan of $100 a month or $100 a year, whatever the payment plan is. So you would be picked up in paying a portion of that throughout the year that you paid it in. But the other portion that's outstanding would be part of that $51 million.
So how much are we talking about?
It's a very good question. I can get that data for you. I don't have it broken down by individual like that. I mean, I'm sure we have that, but I can get that information for you. I can get you what you asked earlier, if just for clarity, to make sure we get the right stuff. It was how much is long-standing, how much of that payment process would have been just regular. I got a ticket and I'm paying on my registration at the end of when I do register my vehicle. That stuff should be easy for us.
Within a year.
Right.
And if I may, Chair, so of that 400, and this is the other thing, so I'm assuming that part of that 9.7 million collected is covered under the 407 active payments that are open.
Correct. Yep.
Still, there's a substantial amount of money that's not going to be collected.
No.
So
yes,
I guess it comes down to then, like as a teacher, we had one clear rule: if you make a rule, enforce it. If you don't intend to enforce it, don't make the rule, because you make a mockery of it. So I guess right here, and you've admitted that there's some of these that you're not going to be able to collect. So I mean, to me, 51 million is a significant chunk of change. That it very clear. I have been to motor vehicle registration early on, many years ago, and I thought having a $200 outstanding was an embarrassment until the 5 people ahead of me are in the $5,000 range. I said, I'm not so bad. So, but nevertheless, if they're not paying it off and there's no attempt to collect it, it sends a very clear message that really, what difference does it make? So I think that, to me, this has to be addressed. And in some way, if it can't be in cash, it's got to be some other way that that person can pay it. And also, in case they also need, if they need their vehicle for work too. But there's got to be a way to find redress for this as well, or not give them tickets.
Minister Davis?
Yeah, so I don't think the not giving a ticket is an option. I do believe there's more that can be done. I'm not going to sit here and say that we've turned over every rock to try to get this, but my mother used to have a saying that you can't get blood from a turnip. And in some cases, we're dealing with people that are, and MHA didn't, I know in the previous questions that you've asked about what supports can we do to support individuals. Some of these individuals are the most vulnerable in our society, and they have made mistakes, and they've compounded because they've made those mistakes and they haven't fixed them. We can't lock them up as Pierre Poilievre would want us to do.
Suggesting.
No, I know you're not, and that's why I'm saying it that way. I know you're not suggesting that. So what we're trying to do is try to find ways for the collections, for payment plans. We're trying to find ways for them to be easy to pay. Obviously, getting them to pay early enough before they get to be long-standing makes it a little easier. And working out a payment plan with our staff is the best course of action. There's $3.5 million in late payment penalties. I'm willing to bet that if you wanted to work out an agreement, there's ways that we can save you some money on what you owe. I don't want to, like, all I'm saying to you is there's ways, if we want to collect some of the money, we're going to work with them. That's what our staff is doing. We've seen some success getting 20%. I view that as a positive thing. I'd like it to be 50% this year right now. And we're going to do everything we possibly can to get that number of collections up higher and the outstanding fines down lower. So I can commit to that as of now.
So the member's time has expired. I ask the members if there are any additional questions under executive and support services. MHA do? MHA. Okay, I ask the clerk to recall the subhead.
1.1.01 to 1.3.01 inclusive, executive and support services.
Shall 1.1.01 to 1.3.01 inclusive, executive and support services carry? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Carried. We are going to take a 10-minute break now. 7:21. See you back at 7:31. you go. Okay, folks. We shall start again. I will now ask the clerk. Now ask the clerk to call the next subhead.
(2.1.01 to 2.4.01 inclusive, legal and related services).
Shall 2.1.01 to 2.4.01 inclusive, legal and related services carry? The member for Harbour May.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On November the 13th, 2024, there was funding announced for 18 new Crown attorneys. Minister, how many of these 18 have been hired?
Minister Davis.
Thank you very much. That was an announcement regarding this budget here. So there was going to be six hired for this year, 6 hired for next year, and 6 hired for the year after.
Thank you, Minister. And under salaries this year, the budget is planned to increase to almost $9.4 million. Why is that? And is that all new Crown attorneys?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And is there any new support staff for the new Crown attorneys?
Could you repeat that again? Sorry.
So, with respect to support staff, is there going to be any new support staff to assist the new Crown attorneys? Has that been allocated for?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Those Crown attorneys, that will bring our complement, I guess, to 51 Crown attorneys. 3 of those were vacant. There's six that we're planning on hiring, and I think your question dealt with the support staff or auxiliary staff.
Correct.
Not in the budget based on the 6 Crowns. We're going to make do with what we have from an administrative standpoint there. I think when we get to the next level of hiring more, we'll be looking at options that we may need to support those individuals with more resources as well.
Thank you, Minister. And that completes my questions for Subhead 2.
Okay, member for St. John's Centre.
Thank you, Chair. 2.1.01, possible to have a brief update on how far along we are on the legal challenge to the federal equalization program.
I'll pass it over to Denise or ADM Woodrow.
Denise Woodrow. The equalization challenge is ongoing at court, so at this point, there's applications being considered for interveners.
2.3.
Member for St. John's Centre.
Sorry about that, Chair. 2.3.01.
Member for St. John's Centre.
Yeah, 2.3.01. How many?
I can't see your light if you could just move the book back. There you go. Perfect. Thank you very much.
How many people are currently employed in legal aid, and how many of those are lawyers? And how many vacancies are there, if any?
Minister Davis.
Thank you. 64 practicing lawyers. 2 lawyers that are senior management / executive positions. There's 9 vacant positions. Recruitment is ongoing across the province. And I think the active caseload, because I think you asked that question once before, was 90 files per lawyer.
Thank you, Chair. Are the 9 vacant positions lawyers?
Mr. Davis.
I'll pass it over to ADM Woodrow. My understanding is yes, but I want to make sure that's clear because there could be some administrative support as well. So ADM Woodrow.
ADM Woodrow?
Yes, the 9 positions are for lawyers.
How long have these positions been vacant?
Minister Davis?
A variety of times, some in shorter order, some I would think that there. I think ADM Woodrow has a better understanding, but we're in the active recruitment phase for those 9 positions. As I said before, we're an operational department with a lot of moving people that move around a little bit too. So is could happen. Like if you ask me next week, there could be 6 vacancies because we've hired 3, and it could be 3 others that could be going to move somewhere else. ADM Woodrow.
ADM Woodrow.
Denise Woodrow. To build on what the minister said, that's true. There's a lot of comings and goings with lawyers moving throughout the system, but also legal aid added 6 positions. So 6 of the 9 are new positions that they're actively recruiting for.
So if I may, what's the, if I want to quantify it, what's the longest vacant position versus the shortest one? New ones versus the, like, I'm just trying to get a range. Is it like we're talking about a month to a year? We just sent out the the ad for new lawyers, and so it's only what 6 weeks. I'm just trying to get an idea of like how long are these positions vacant or unfilled?
Minister Davis.
It takes a variety of time to get through the HR process, depending on where they're to, how much lead time someone may need to give notice to another employer to come in to work with us. But as the ADM did just say, there were 6 new positions, so very recent. And the other 3, I think we could potentially give you some timelines. I don't know if she has it at her fingertips there now, but I don't think they're very long open. But I can pass it over to ADM Woodrow as well.
And before, if I may, Chair, before I go, I guess, when was the approval for the 6 new unit and new positions given? Versus then maybe when the ad was sent out versus, that's what I'm after here. How long what's the time between which those positions were approved to now? Those 6 ones and then the other 3.
I'll have to get the timing. I'm not sure of the timing between when the board of directors would have approved it versus when they're advertising, but Legal Aid is always actively looking for lawyers just to always have a full complement to staff. So.
Thank you. And I guess if this is approved 2 months ago, then we have vacant, and the ad was put out 2 weeks after that, then it's the 6, that's what I'm after. What's the timeline? Because I would assume these are going to have impacts on people's legal proceedings. Is there a problem with retention at Legal Aid?
Mr. Davis.
No, we've made some significant gains there over the past number of years under the previous minister. It's my understanding. I've had the opportunity to meet with the board of directors as well as the management there. I think in general terms, the lawyers are happy at the location they are and enjoy the work. It's a passion that they would have working in Legal Aid. I've met a number of them, and they're very excited about the work they do. Obviously, there's opportunities that come up from time to time where people would leave Legal Aid and come within government to do a body of work and then go back to Legal Aid. So that would be a vacancy that's caused at Legal Aid. The lawyer is still within the system, and their permanent position would lie with Legal Aid, but they're here on a contract doing a particular body of work, whether that be an inquiry or some other. That's what they would be doing. I guess to answer your question, I think it's the natural movement that would happen. As we've said, there's 64 practicing lawyers, 3 of which are 6 of those 9 that are vacant are new positions that are created. So no one left to cause those. They're just new positions that we got to fill. 3 people that, of those 3, 1 or 2 of them could be in the department doing a particular body of work or somewhere else, and maybe one of those left. We can give you some more detail of how long-term it is. I think your question is valid, but the 6 brand new lawyers, that's going to only make the people that need legal aid and use legal aid, their situation be a little faster and better for them.
Thank you. Do you anticipate, under 2.3.03, other inquiries, do you anticipate any further delays in the release of the report by the Commission of Inquiry into the treatment, experiences, and outcomes of INU in the child protection system?
Minister Davis.
Let me first of all say that this is an independent inquiry. We don't direct them. We support them. From a financial perspective, and anything we can do to aid them, we will. but it is an independent inquiry. They've asked for, based on Justice Iglesiorte, asked us for a extension based on what they would need to do their work. They're actually in Labrador right now working on this, and we anticipate that the timelines they gave us was the fall of 2020, October 31st of 2026. I hope that they hit that target because I want to see the work that comes out of that committee, or inquiry, sorry.
Thank you. And 2.3.05, human rights, how many active complaints is the Commission currently looking into, and does this represent an increase or a decrease over recent years? The number of active complaints and whether it's an increase or a decrease.
Minister Davis.
We have 233 active complaints as of March 31st. There was 345 files closed in 2024-2025, and there was in 23-24 there was 319. So the numbers themselves dictate that it's gone down, but I don't want to just say that without it being a snapshot in time, because I think it's important that we realize that this is the point at which we're talking about it now. I don't want to give you wrong information, but that's the numbers that exist as of today. And the supposition I'm going to make from that is that it's down, but I don't want to give that clarity without knowing fully.
Thank you. Under 2.3.06, Office of the Public Trustee, I'm just wondering if, Minister, you have responded to Mr. Scott Hounsell's and Charlene Daly's request to meet with you regarding this disposition of his sister's remains. You might remember this was in the news. He was supposed to have been notified about his sister being buried. And that last he found out that she had been cremated and buried without any contact. So he's been trying to reach out. He's reached out to various people within the department. Has received the response, but so far nothing that will be satisfactory, nor to his request to me. I'm just wondering, because he does have some serious concerns.
Minister Davis.
Absolutely. I met with him. I don't want to get the day wrong, but within days of being aware of the story, I met with Scott and discussed that with him. He was talking about making sure that the system didn't have that happen to somebody else, and that's part of the reason why we brought in the legislation that we brought into the House of Assembly in that fall. Any situation that would happen like Mr. Hounsell described is disappointing to me. And we want to make sure, and I know the public trustee wants to make sure that things don't happen. So that's part of the reason why that legislation was brought in the fall, to rectify that situation that could potentially happen. That obviously, in this case, the communication wasn't as strong as it needs to be.
The member's time has expired. Does the member have additional questions under legal and related services?
Yeah, just in follow up on that. So since 20th March 25th, then you have met with Mr. Hounsell, because that was his last one email. He is on our understanding that Minister Davis was to follow up and meet with us. So I haven't received any updates. So I'm assuming you haven't met with him since March 25th.
Since March 25th. I'll have to get the time frame. I've met with him since the stories. We talked to the public trustee, and we were going to circle back with him for sure when we had some information. And I'm not sure if the timeline would be exact that we've chatted with him since March 25th, but I know that's we did chat with him initially. We're working on some things that he wanted us to look into, which we've since found out that we're going to be going back to him with that information.
Excellent. And part of that, if I may, Chair, in a response, I think in an email from Ms. Woodrow to Mr. Hounsell, it says that the documentation provided to the court and subsequently to the Office of the Public Trustee indicated that there were no family members or next of kin who had interest in being involved in the estate. That was despite the fact that Mr. Hounslow had made it very clear that he was and that there was a next of kin. So I think that's he's trying to understand how this happened, especially since it's the disposition of his sister's body, of loved one's body. So I'm assuming you will have those answers for him as to how that happened, despite the fact that he was in communication with the Office of the Public Trustee and officials. Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
Seeing no further questions, I will ask the clerk to recall the subhead.
2.1.01 to 2.4.01 inclusive, legal, and related services.
Shall 2.1.01 to 2.4.01 inclusive, legal and related services carry? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Carried. Ask the clerk to call the next subhead.
3.1.01 to 3.2.01 inclusive, law courts.
Shall 3.1.01 to 3.2.01 inclusive, law courts carry? Member for Harbour Main.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, are any of the courts experiencing backlogs, lengthy trial delays? And that includes either Supreme and/or provincial court.
Minister Davis.
Thank you. It's a broad statement, and I don't want to get it wrong. If I say no, you're asking all three courts together, and I think there's less of a backlog in some of the courts than there is in, say, provincial court, as an example, or Supreme. Maybe appeal is not much of a delay. I've met with all three courts. I'll turn it over to Michael just to see if he wants to add on that. But we also have Joanne, as they introduced themselves earlier, Joanne Turner, as well as Shelley Organ here from both the Provincial and Supreme Court. So I think I'll pass it over to Mike first, and if either one of those individuals want to add to that, we can.
ADM Noseworthy.
Thank you. So as the minister mentioned, it's a broad question, and the answer is different, as you can appreciate, between courts and between court centers. But maybe what I will say before I turn it over to my colleagues from the heads of administration from each of the courts is just say that the time to have a trial scheduled or hear a matter at those different court centers, depending on a wide variety of factors, is something that we're working on closely in collaboration between the department, court staff, and the judiciary. And we're constantly looking at different ways we can address those concerns, whether it's looking at staffing, operations, looking at digital solutions as well. It's something that's certainly top of mind for us in the department, and a source of regular discussions that we have, again, between court administration and the judiciary. And maybe then I'll turn it over to each of Shelley and then Joanne to answer for their respective courts, if I could.
Shelley Organ.
Yes, for the Supreme Court, I can say we judge a backlog on the time to trial or dates set for trial, so next available dates. And we, with the exception of Corner Brook, I can confidently say we do not have a backlog. In Corner Brook, we are booking cases out now a year. Years ago, that was okay, acceptable. It's not any longer, and we're working on solutions to that. For the rest of the court judicial centers, we can book a one-week trial, for instance, in the fall, mid to late fall, and that's reasonable because there's preparation time and things like that. Also, I'd like to note, just for Supreme Court, most of our cases, civil and family, are self-driven, so it is hard to talk about backlogs and time to trials and dispositions and clearance rates.
Thank you. Can I just respond to ask?
Member for Harbour Main.
Yes, just with respect to that, so would you be able to give a number of cases that you have that are experiencing lengthy delays, like for a year, for example? Is that something you could do?
So in Corner Brook, for instance, we, and I guess a contributor to those delays this past year or two is that our number of initiated cases, our filings have increased, especially in the criminal and family. So in Corner Brook, that we have, I think it's about 29 cases, and that's double to what it was 2 years ago. That's active right now. That's being set down for trial or waiting for, trial dates. And so does that answer your question?
Yes,
I might have, okay.
yes, thank you, Ms. Sorgan.
Minister Davis.
I'd like to also add that we've approved I say we approved because it is through Supreme Court. It's a federal appointment of the judge, of course. But we're waiting on the federal government to approve another judge for Corner Brook region. So we've put the auxiliary services around it, but we're waiting for the new judge to be appointed from the federal government, which in turn will reduce that backlog. And I'm happy to say that in St. John's and other than Corner Brook, we've got it under control. We can always improve, and that's part of the reason why in this budget we've invested a significant amount of money in digital transformation of the courts, because we want to make it more functional, and making sure that we put corrections officers and sheriff's officers in place, which is why, as I say, the continuum of justice, you can't just invest in policing services. You got to invest in the other side as well, from the court side, because if you invest in police resources only, well, then you're going to have people that are obviously you're going to have more criminals taken off the road, and they have to go through that system. So you got to have people in the other side of the system too to support that whole transition through that continuum that we talk about all the time. So I hope that answers your question, and we see the judge as going to be a big asset in that region. And they're also going to circuit to Central as well, because we see that is an option as well.
Thank you. Member for Harbour Main.
And so with respect to the provincial court, could we have an answer there?
Joanne Turner.
Joanne Turner, Director of Court Services with Provincial Court. So in recognition that there is a heavy course load with the Provincial Court, we are working with stakeholders to better streamline and to more effectively schedule or streamline more effective scheduling changes. So we're doing things like sentencing days where we can focus on some cases and get our clearance rates increased and more intensive pre-trial conferencing, just to ensure that things are ready to go to court when the cases are scheduled. Case management day, where cases such as sexual assault, perhaps aggravated assault, indictable offenses are triaged and kind of kept an eye to within the schedule. Virtual assistance, court center to court center, are aimed at achieving efficiency, which we hope to increase access to earlier trial and sentencing dates. As well, with respect to next trial dates, I do have that information with me today to share. Depending on the court center, so if I'm looking at St. John's, for example, and this is as of last week, so this changes on a daily basis. So we're looking at mid-August in St. John's and early June for civil. For Harbour Grace, for example, mid-late July 2024. Grand Bank, mid-late July of 2025 as well. Clarenville, similar date. Gander, early June. Grand Falls, Windsor, it's late May 2025. Corner Brook is late June of 2025. Stephenville, mid-June to early July. Civil cases are late August. Happy Valley Goose Bay, mid-July, and civil is late June. And in Wabush, late June, and civil is late June as well.
Thank you. Because we know, even we can hear in the media, for example, one of the cases last month in March, it was a civil case in which 23 fraud charges were all withdrawn, and it was primarily attributed to, to the lengthy delay. And so the case was thrown out. So that brings me to Jordan applications. How many Jordan applications have been made in both provincial and Supreme Court?
Mr. Davis.
Yeah, so For the best available information, which is by the day, I'll turn it over to Lisa, who will provide as of today, or as of yesterday, I think, but you can provide that, Lisa, if you don't mind.
Lisa Stead.
Sorry, Lisa Stead, I'm the DPP. I can say that as of today, there are 5 scheduled Section 11B hearings. In terms of applications filed, I can't speak to that. Often applications are filed and never perfected, or it might be served on the Crown and never filed with the court. So in terms of cases that are scheduled to be heard, I can say there are 5 today that are scheduled between Friday and I think mid-July.
Thank you. And would you be able to identify the general nature of those cases? In terms of offenses?
I believe there are some that are driving offenses, impaired driving. They're trying to think of the ones. I saw the list. There is one that I think there's some break and enters, and there may be a sexual assault. Those are the ones that are scheduled. They are in Happy Valley, Wabush, and in St. John's and Harbour Grace are the court locations of the provincial court. They're none in Supreme Court.
Okay, thank you. And as well under provincial court, has the analysis been completed regarding returning the provincial court to Sheshatshiu? And what was the policy analysis recommendation on that? That was mentioned in last year's estimates.
Minister Davis.
Yeah, so there has been a little bit of a delay in there, but I'll let ADM Noseworthy answer to where it's to right now.
ADM Noseworthy.
Thank you. So as the Minister mentioned, the timing is a bit different than we had anticipated, but I can share that that policy analyst position has recently been hired. I do want to clarify that the role of that position is to do an evaluation of all court centers, including circuit courts throughout Newfoundland and Labrador, and make recommendations on that basis.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Member's time has expired. The member for St. John's Centre.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Member for Harbour Main.
Second here. One final question. With respect to the provincial courthouse in Stephenville Crossing, just curious to clarify which department is overseeing that renovation. Because considering the quote that came in, which was quite expensive, I'm wondering, was any work done to lower the cost or to look for an alternative venue?
Minister Davis.
Thank you. That would be best directed at transportation infrastructure,
Okay.
but very good question.
Okay, thank you. We'll do that.
For Harbour Main.
Thank you. No, that's it. And that's it for my questions here.
Okay, seeing no further questions, I ask the clerk to recall the subhead.
3.1.01 to 3.2.01 inclusive law courts.
Shall 3.1.01 to 3.2.01 inclusive law courts carry? All those in favor? All those against? Carried. I ask the clerk to call the next subhead.
4.1.01 to 4.2.02 inclusive public protection.
Shall 4.1.01 to 4.2.02 inclusive public protection carry? Member for Harbour Main.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last year's budget included funding for 10 additional RNC frontline officers. Are all of these positions filled?
Minister Davis.
Thank you. Over the last 3 years, ending this year, we put in place 30 new officers, 10 each year. I'll turn it over to the Chief of Police to let you know if they've all been hired. I know there's a significant amount of recruits in the, I hate to use the word hopper, but in the training session for that, but there's a significant number of recruits that are coming through, so I will turn it over to Chief before I get myself in trouble talking about hopper.
Chief Roach.
Good day, Chief Pat Roach here. Thank you for your question. So we currently have 17 cadets at the Atlantic Police Academy in training. They will be back at the end of this May. They'll commence then their on-the-job training program, which will take them until the end of mid to late August, when they will graduate and come back and be sworn in as police officers. Commencing in late July, 12 other cadets will be attending a second program at the Atlantic Police Academy. This is the first year they've had two classes going through. Those cadets will follow the same sort of program. They'll go away. They'll be back late December, January for the on-the-job training. Commencing next January, I'm guaranteed 15 seats, but I'm visiting the Atlantic Police Academy and the executive meetings with the director there next week to request an additional 5 seats for potentially 20 seats next January, and I'm looking for 15 to 20 again next July.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief. The minister said there were 19 new RNC officers in 2026-27. Is that in addition, I just need clarification, is that in addition to the new recruits that, as you referenced just now, Chief, that you get every year? So I'm just wondering about that 19. Is that an additional? Because I think the 19 is the graduating class, but I need clarification on that.
Minister Davis?
No, that's a very good question. The 19 is police officers, not necessarily RNC. There will be a portion of them RNC, of course, and the other portion could be RCMP. As I've said, in 2026, 2027, they're going to be based on the need in the community determined by consultations with the Policing Transformation Working Group and the communities and the policing establishments that will be there. So that is in addition to the 10 that we have currently in this fiscal year. And the 10 is a bit of a misnomer as well, because it's more like 15 police officers this year, because the joint task force that we announced as well is a 10-person unit that's comprised of 5 RNC and 5 RCMP. That will be actually 4 and then 2 federal policing people as well. But so 10 is what we committed to over a 3-year period, 10 each year, and then the other additional 4 are coming from the joint task force that we just announced in November that you spoke about a little earlier in our conversations about not necessarily that, but about the announcements in November.
Okay. So how many RNC officers retired last year?
Mr. Davis?
In 2024, 2025, there was 8 that retired.
And thank you, Minister. And how many are eligible for retirement currently?
Minister Davis?
27 that are eligible to retire, and they're eligible to retire, but some of them could be 15 years into the service. So, you know, it's not likely that there would be 27 retire, but there will be some that will retire, there's no doubt. But that's why we're aggressively recruiting, and the Chief identified earlier the aggressive recruiting strategy that we have. And that's just the cadets that are going, that's just the new hires that are going to APA in PEI. There is another set of recruitment that's happening for experienced officers, and I don't want to steal the Chief's thunder on any of this stuff. If he wants to jump in, he can. But they're doing people that would want to come home. That could be RCMP officers from another jurisdiction, could be OPP, or any of those experienced officers that would want to come home with some success. You would have noticed in social media that there's an extensive recruitment campaign, the Faces of the RNC. I think it's a beautiful campaign that they've done, working very hard to understand, making it a desirable opportunity for people to want to work in the police service, which is what we want. And kudos to them for the work they've done from that perspective. And we've got a very positive recruitment side. I know we're talking about the RNC here now. We've got a positive recruitment side as well for the RCMP. And if you had any questions about that, I can talk about that as well.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just going to, for clarification, the Chief has mentioned the recruits at the the 17 and the 20 in July. So what I want to ask is, are there any new RNC officers outside of or on top of the APA classes?
Minister Davis.
The APA classes, the timings of the APA are not necessarily lining up with the announcements that we've made about policing. Those 10 police officers that we announced for this year will come out of that class. There's some assumptions that there's going to be retirements, there's going to be vacancy factors, there's going to be things that we're going to be replacing those other recruits that are coming out of APA to fill those potential retirements, potential movements within the police force that will go to some other police force. So there will be a home for all of those individuals that are going through the APA program. That's why there's such a strong vetting process that the chief and his group goes through. So yes, you're seeing numbers of 17 and 12. Some of that will be filling positions that are already not necessarily vacant. There is some that are vacant, of course, but some that could retire, as well as the complement of the 10 that we're looking at for this year, and the other 5. One I missed earlier was the executive position for the IPV unit that we put in place as well in the fall of the year.
So can I just clarify how many experienced police hires?
I opened the door, so it's just one for you to walk through it. I'll ask Chief to do that.
Again, thank you for the question, Chief Roach. So over the course that we are always recruiting for experienced officers. Over the last year or so, we've hired 6, I believe it was 7 experienced officers. One in the last month and a half who was a military officer who joined our organization. We've hired from other agencies across the country, just not from the RCMP. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
And under supplies, can you please outline why the supplies line is increasing? Last year it went over budget, and this year it has a planned increase as well. That's under 4.101 under supplies.
Minister Davis.
Thank you. That would be, that variance in funding is other departmental initiatives that are going to be announced in the coming days, weeks. So
can I ask what they are?
you can.
I can ask, but you're not going to answer.
You can ask, but I'll come back to departmental initiatives. And I hate to use I'll steal a word from Minister Lovelace up there. Stay tuned.
Okay. All right. I definitely will. So under purchase services, can you please outline why purchased services went over budget last year, spending $3.1 million?
Minister Davis.
Yeah, so that would be fleet repairs and maintenance, vehicle rentals, recruitment, advertising, training, and other related costs associated with that.
And so the supplies, does that involve the body cams? Is that involved with this? Body cams?
No, mostly to do, and I'll ask Andrew or the chief if the chief wants Andrew to, but Andrew can give you a little bit of an update on that.
That's good. That's good.
It's not about announceable things yet.
Andrew Green. So did you ask specifically about purchase services?
Supplies.
Supplies?
Oh, no,
for
well,
supply?
purchase services.
Yeah, so for purchase services, we've seen a large increase in our repairs and maintenance costs that everybody in the community is seeing. It's about 150% more than what it was in the previous year.
So, okay, so with respect to supplies, I'll go back to my question about the body cams. So would that have been included there? Because it went over budget, and this year is a planned increase as well.
Minister Davis?
Sorry, yeah, that wouldn't be part of that. As I said earlier, we're in discussions on that with the RNC through the chief. We meet on a regular basis on that. But I can give you one example of a departmental initiative that you talked about earlier. Would be JFOs, right? Joint Force Operations. That would be one that we've announced already that would be reflective in departmental initiatives that would be coming forward. Okay. Some of those costs associated with equipment they would be required to have, vehicles and or equipment. So that would be one. Obviously, there's an initiative there that we talked about recruitment with APA from a training standpoint. That would be part of that as well.
Okay.
I'd just like to give you at least some crumbs along the way to make sure.
Well, that's good.
You know.
That's kind of you. Thank you.
Member's time has expired. The member for St. John's Centre.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a few questions first on numbers. How many police officers are currently in the force? Just the numbers, and how many officers left in the previous year not related to retirement?
Minister Davis.
There's 424 officers, 112 civilians, so there's more than 500 people helping police our communities in the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary area. There was 8 that retired, as I said earlier. There was 11 that left either voluntarily or involuntarily.
Okay, thank you. Under 4.1.03, the RNC Public Complaints Commission. How many public complaints did the commission receive in the past 12 months? And is this an increase or decrease over the year before that?
Minister Davis.
There was 114 complaints filed as of March 31st. And there was, I think, 57 complaints that were concluded in 2024-2025. As I said before, it's a snapshot in time. Some complaints can go on extended periods of time based on not necessarily the commissioner or the investigation. It could be that one party is not ready to come forward with those questions or answers to the questions that the commissioner may have. And it looks like it's I want to say, as I said before, I can get you the detail if it's an increase or not at some other time. I don't know that to be the sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I can get that for you.
Thank you. 4.1.04, how many cases is the Serious Incident Response Team currently investigating?
Sorry, Jim, can you say that again?
Sure thing. How many cases is CERT currently investigating? That's 4.1.04.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought that's what you said. I just wanted to make sure. There was 47 files open in 24-25 as of March 31st, 2025. There was 38 files that were closed in 24-25, and there's 11 active files currently.
Thank you. In 4.2.01 adult corrections, how many classification officer and community officer positions are currently vacant, and how many total positions are there?
Okay, as of 31st of March, there's 8 classification officers positions, 4 at HMP, 1 at Labrador Correction Center, 1 at the Women's Correction Center, 1 at West Coast Correction Center, and 1 at Bishop Falls Correction Center, and there's 3 vacant that are actively under recruitment.
Thank you. What initiatives are currently being undertaken to address the staffing shortages at HMP, and are there any changes to the job vacancy numbers as a result?
Mr. Davis.
So we've got for not just for classification officers, I'll speak in more broad terms. There was 67 corrections officers that were vacancies. 28 of those were filled. 15 recruits are currently graduating from APA. 29 recruits are currently in training. 7 recruits are confirmed to start training in June of this year. So it's a good number to get past our 67 vacancies that we had. So we're working very hard to actively recruit individuals. But let there be no mistake that one of the stumbling blocks is obviously HMP itself. So, I'm not going to hide behind that. That's something that we need to address. We've made a commitment as a government that we're going to be building a new corrections facility. That is a commitment that's going to be honored by this minister that sits in this chair. And our Premier has been very clear on that, and we're going to be moving forward on that at some point, hopefully in the very near future. But we're working through that process, and that will undoubtedly make it a little easier for a recruitment standpoint, but we've made some very good strides in that area, and I'd turn it over to Lorelei, who works very hard in the correction side, and see if she had anything to add based on what I had, but I'm sure there's going to be other questions, so she can definitely jump in now or wait.
ADM Roberts.
Lorelei Roberts. Minister, you summed it up quite accurately. There has been quite a bit of movement in terms of recruitment. you know, we are actively recruiting all the time, and we're having very good success in terms of people's interest in attending training. And as you can just imagine, we do have training offered back to back, and we do have a number of people who are interested in it. In addition to that, we do also hire experienced officers and advertise for that consistently, and we do have a number of people who have put their names forward for that. So as you can see, we started out the year, throughout the year, we had a number of vacancies, and we've done quite good in filling them. And keep in mind, we've had new positions added. So as we add the new positions, we have to recruit for those positions. So we're always in catch-up phase to recruit for those positions. So they're added on any numbers that we have, which becomes a new vacancy.
Thank you. Chair, I go back to the Minister with regards to the new HMP. I think the phrase he used was in the very near future, so I'm asking him to define the very near future as best he can. Is it a month, 2 months, a year, 10 years before the term runs out?
So we've been working very hard on working with transportation infrastructure on that very file. I can't say within a day or hours, but it's going to be soon. We're working through that process, and as it gets a little closer, I can definitely, you're going to be involved in some way in being at that announcement. I'm hopeful, but that's where I'm to with this now. It's an important piece, a commitment that we've made. It's not something that I would be waiting on in any length of time. I want to move as quick as we possibly can on it, and I know that our government is committed to that.
Okay. Thank you, Minister and Chair. I would say that I would say a large part of the recruitment and retention for the HMP is conditions. So until we have that solved, we're going to have this perennial problem. Is there any change in the amount of money that the provincial receives from the federal government for housing federal prisoners in our facilities?
Mr. Davis.
I don't think there's a change in the quantum that we receive per person. I think it's the same amount per inmate per day of $376.85. But as we're aware that our correction system has a high remand population, which is not convicted of I won't say convicted of anything at this point, but they're housed as a protection for the community or the criminality or the actions that they've taken. So when they go through the court proceedings, then it'll be dealt with from a federal side as well as a provincial side. So I hope that answers your question. If you want some more detail than that, I can ask Lorelei to jump in as well. But it is it hasn't changed the amount of money that we receive from them per day per inmate, but the number of days that they're under federal process is probably less because they're in remand.
Thank you. How many federal prisoners are currently being housed, and what portion of the inmate population does this represent? And have those figures increased or decreased over the last year or so?
Mr. Davis.
I was just looking to the brain trust behind me on that one, but it varies from day to day. I can try to get that. We don't have that at our fingertips for you, but it does change from day to day, week to week. But I don't have that here for you right now.
Okay, thank you. Would it be possible to have the numbers of inmates currently in each facility as well as their maximum capacity of those facilities?
Minister Davis.
Yeah, so our inmate counts vary from day to day, as I said before. At any given time, there could be between 350 and 400 inmates within our corrections facilities. And that's been a consistent thing over the past number of months.
Thank you. I was just looking for the numbers per facility, Chair.
I can try to get that for you, but as I said, it varies from day to day.
Okay, thank you.
The member's time has expired. Member for Harbour, Maine.
Thank you. Returning to 4.101, RNC, how are calls for service triaged?
Minister Davis.
I'm not going to even take an opportunity at that because we support them. We're not operational. The operational decisions of the RNC lie within the purview of the RNC themselves. So I'll turn it over to Chief Roach to answer that question.
Chief Roach.
Thank you for your question. So in relation to triage, you mean when someone calls to make a complaint? So there are different priority calls, obviously. So emergency calls are our first priority. Depending on the nature, they go through our communication center and will be dispatched to officers working that particular shift in that time of day, obviously. There's other calls and called nature types that can be reported online, and that we would encourage people to do so. So minor thefts and that sort of thing that can be reported through our online service, and then followed up by an operational investigation unit, which we established about a year ago, which alleviates the number of investigations which patrol officers then carry on patrol, so it makes time more efficient for the officers. Does that answer your question?
Well, it does somewhat, but Chief, I'm just wondering, so for example, if you have a call of a crime of violence versus a call of property crime versus, you know, another minor offense, how exactly, is there a system in place in which you triage them in terms of the seriousness of the crime?
Yes, as I said, there's priority 1, 2, 3, and 4. So depending on the nature of the call, if it's a violent crime or a crime in process, shall we say, as opposed to you came home and found your shovel missing from your backyard, shall we say. So that's how they are prioritized as. If you're calling, as in some recent incidents occurring in our city lately, it's an immediate response by officers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. What is the average response time for each level of triage?
Again, thank you for your question, Chief Roach. I will have to get back to you on that. I can't tell you that off the top of my head here tonight. Sometimes, again, if it's a 911 call, it would be moments, minutes, shall we say, depending on where the officers are coming from. Others could be a little longer than that, shall we say.
Okay, thank you. So I assume there is some data, though, to
Very much so. I can certainly get the data for you and have that available for you, probably in very short order, actually. Not tonight, mind you, but within the next few days. Andrew, make note.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
Section or subhead, 4.102, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So we have statistics, or does the minister have statistics on how often police visit the remote communities of Northern Labrador? And if so, are there periods when communities such as Postville may not have any police presence in the community?
Minister Davis.
Thank you. It's a very good question. I don't have the answer to that directly for you. I can ask the RCMP for that, as they're a contract police force for us. But what I can say, and we've seen some great success with the RCMP over the past 6-8 months. We've got Assistant Commissioner Pat Cal, a Newfoundlander and Labradorian. I got 2 Pats as chiefs of police that work very well together, and there's some synergies that you get from having that. And I know a significant number of my colleagues across the country really envy the position that we are in as a province with 2 very well-trained, skilled police forces that work so good together. But to answer the question in a longer way than I'm trying not to be long, but there's a significant recruitment drive that's been happening with the RCMP that would alleviate some of those problems to harder to recruit areas. They've made some changes with the recruitment process. It used to be with the RCMP that you would be posted anywhere. But now you can choose to be posted in your home province, maybe not your home community, but your home province, and they endeavor to do all those things. There's a significant number of RCMP officers currently in training at the depot that would be 14 of which, 40 cadets are posted to B Division right now as we speak from 24, 25. And then there's 14 graduates in April and June of this year that will be there. And they've also recruited 5 experienced officers from other locations around the country that are from Newfoundland and Labrador that wanted to come home. So they've done some significant work. That will alleviate some of those concerns, but you're not wrong in the fact that some of those northern communities are challenging to get to on a daily basis, but they do try to get there as much as they possibly can. And I hope that answers your question, and I'll endeavor to get you some more detail in the future.
I appreciate that. Thank you. The pre-budget submission from the National Police Federation outlined how calls for service for the RCMP in the province has increased from, they gave the time frame from 2014 to 2023. They also noted that there was a population growth by about 4%. Why has the number of police officers per 100,000 people decreased? Because what in essence this means is that the RCMP are responding to more calls, but yet they have fewer officers available.
Minister Davis.
I've met with the group that you just highlighted on a couple of occasions. We have, I think we've had at least 2, if not 3 meetings with them, the Association for the RCMP. Very strong meetings. They're on our better than quarterly meeting schedule. We want to hear their concerns. We understand that they've voiced some concerns on those. That's part of the reason why the Policing Transformation Working Group is working with the RCMP in those communities as well to see how that looks on a go-forward basis. We're working very closely with our federal colleagues on the negotiation side of the contract that expires in 2032. And that sounds like a long time away, but you've got a plan for what could be coming in the future if anything was to change. So we're working closely with them. As far as it goes from a recruitment standpoint, that there has been vacancies in the RCMP for longer-term vacancies in some communities, in rural communities around our province, that we're endeavoring to get filled. That's what I highlighted with the changes in recruitment. We're working very closely with that. We're going to continue to work hard with the RCMP in that contract policing, but operational decisions of where our officers are placed is based on their needs of the communities. I know that when we looked at the Policing Transformation Working Group, worked with the community of Goose Bay just recently, and it was identified through working with the community that there was a gap of 5 officers that would needed to be filled to support that. That's what we put in place to try to rectify some of the concerns that were happening in that community from a policing perspective.
Thank you, Minister. And yes, I too have met with the National Police Federation, especially in regards to the pre-budget submission. And I note that they have been calling for 25 new RCMP officers in the province for this budget. So how many new positions will be created this year?
Minister Davis.
So we created 5 in Happy Valley Goose Bay that I highlighted just now, and we identified that there would be 19 additional resources in 26, 27 to potentially go between the 2 forces based on need in the community. And we've also added 4 RCMP officers for the joint forces task force that we put in place. So that's 9 that we've already put in place for this budget. They're asking for 25, and there's 19 that would be potentially coming in. Some portion of those will be RCMP, of course. That'll come in 25, 26, and we're always looking at working with our stakeholders, such as the group we highlighted and talking about here now, as well as we meet with Assistant Commissioner Cal on a very regular basis to ascertain the concerns that they may have with respect to community policing in what they would have as 80% of the geography in Newfoundland and Labrador. And they do fantastic work in what they do. Obviously, any resources that we can put in place, we'll be always looking at ways we can support them.
Thank you, Minister. And I think it would be very beneficial, and I'm wondering, since the RCMP are not represented here tonight, would the Minister arrange for a meeting so that I could ask questions about things that you've referenced, for example, with respect to the remote communities of Northern Labrador? It would be really beneficial if we could have that meeting.
Oh, just one second. I think Lorelei can answer a question that we asked earlier. Sorry about that.
Lorelei Roberts. Sorry about that. The RCMP has a contract with us. So we monitor, we work with the RCMP through that contract. So the RCMP does regularly patrol Postville, and they patrol it through, God, I gotta say the word, Makovic. Sorry, I got to think about it before I say it. They regularly patrol it from Makovic because that's where they're stationed. So it is on their regular patrol. And they do have, the resources like, for example, boats, skidoos, all the types of resources and tools that they require in order to patrol those areas. So that is on their regular patrol list.
Okay, thank you.
Just to ask.
Mr. Davis.
Sorry. Just to answer your question, yes, I'd have no problem with coordinating that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Fired. Does Member for St. John Centre have any further questions?
Yep, thank you, Chair. Just a couple more. Are there any plans to make the electronic monitoring program province-wide?
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. We do have an electronic monitoring process. I think we have 60 units, of which I think 35 or 39 are utilized. But we have them available to us, but it's not our call to determine who goes into those. It's determined by the court. So, there's conditional sentence orders, 12 probationary orders, 2 on temporary absences. That's the ones that we currently have in the 39 offenders that are on electronic monitoring. But we do have more capacity to add to that, but it's not in our purview to determine who goes into those. It's based on judge and their, I guess, the type of activities that they've been involved in, and if they can be. If the conditions of the release can be handled through electronic monitoring.
Thank you. Under 4.2.02, and this might be a question for transportation and infrastructure, 4.2.02. But your department, we would assume, must hold some responsibility for the condition of the youth detention center. So what actions are you taking currently to ameliorate the conditions at the youth detention facility in Whitburn?
Minister Davis.
Yes, thank you for the question. And yes, the maintenance and infrastructure does lie in transportation infrastructure, but my understanding is the replacement of the roof for units, 4 units, and the repairs inside are out for tender right now. So that'll be done. That's been a process that we've been working with them. Obviously, we're always looking to ensure that infrastructure that is in justice and public safety is at the best level it can be, but that's working with transportation infrastructure, and in this case, the replacement of the roof is going to tender as we speak.
Okay, thank you. And if I had one last question, I guess, I thought I had it here, but with regards to the traffic cameras, where are we with those? I don't know if that would be your department or not, but where rolling these out?
It's a shared responsibility. 2 of the ministers happen to be in this room right now that are going to be doing something with that. And I'll use his words because he's actually here. He may say, "Stay tuned," and I'm sure he would agree with me. And you won't have to wait too long.
And just to follow, and I would assume that if these cameras are going up, there are going to be signs there letting people know that there are cameras in the area, because it's not so much to catch. Well, it's no use catching it if we can't get the fines. So it's better to warn them and force them to slow down. Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, so there will be, and it's about deterring and safe the public safety in those communities. And thank you for bringing up that question. It's a very good one, and it's an exciting day for Justice and Public Safety when we get the opportunity to work with my colleague from Service NL and implement something that I think is going to be very good for the people of this province and can expand hopefully quick.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'll be staying to.
Okay.
Excellent. Love it.
Member for Harbour Main.
4.201 adult corrections. There was $15 million allocated over 2 years for some temporary infrastructure improvements to improve conditions at HMP. What improvements have already been completed?
Mr. Davis.
I'm trying to find my note on that, but yeah, so there has been some improvements done already. The open-air courts, as an example. I'll turn it over to Lorelei, who would be able to give you an up-to-date actions of what's been taking place. Obviously, we know there's I hate to use the word stopgap measure, but there's an opportunity to make sure that we provide the best services we can, given the antiquated facility that we're working with. So there has to be investments made, and the previous minister moved on those, which was an important decision. And now we get some work done on that, and I'll turn it over to Lorelei to give us an update, and I'm waiting with bated breath to hear it.
ADM Roberts.
Lorelei Roberts. We currently have 2 trailers set up for programming. One of the trailers has Locks Construction or Contracting, just putting the finishing touches on it. It's quite a lovely new trailer. We have another one that we offer ABE in and other types of programming. We're also have the 2 open-air courts with basketball nets installed. They're ready to go now and ready for use. There is going to be a structure constructed inside the secure area, and that will provide a new space for admissions and change rooms and storage of property. And the construction on that building is proposed to start in July 2025. We're in the process, and it's ongoing, of updating the video surveillance system and other security systems in the facility. The tender has been set out, and the awarding of the contract is about to occur, and some maintenance is currently being done to prepare for that. The renovation of the space for new video visitation and video court booths have been identified, and this will take place once the new outbuilding is in place, and we're able to move things to that. We've also done some work around with our inmate advisory committee to look at what program needs are required for the individuals that are currently housed at the HMP. And access to programming, as Minister mentioned, we've done a lot with our recruitment and retention with our correctional officers at the HMP, and that helps improve access to programming.
Thank you. And so you've basically indicated what improvements have already been completed. What improvements are planned, or have you mentioned all of them that are planned, and how much has been set aside for this coming fiscal year?
Minister Davis.
Yeah, so I think ADM Roberts gave a fulsome list of what's planned and what has been implemented based on the $15 million-ish that was approved by the previous minister to do through the budget process. Those things obviously takes a little longer than we would like to do. You're dealing with a corrections facility, so you got to go through all those extra processes and procedures to ensure the safety of everybody involved. But those things are moving quickly, and we're excited about what we see as helping make the facility a little bit better for those individuals that are housed there.
Thank you, Minister. In October 2024, you issued a news release that spoke about the new program trailer and associated programming. How many people have actually participated in the ABE, the Adult Basic Education Programming, since then?
Minister Davis.
So as the ADM had mentioned, the final touches are on those portable units are being made finalized. I don't think in those particular units if they have had anybody go through them yet, but I do. So they have. So I'll turn it over to ADM Roberts to go through that with you.
ADM Roberts.
Lorelei Roberts. AB is operational at the HMP. They started in September, and essentially individuals who are interested to participate in AB do participate. Interestingly enough, I was there for a visit the other day, and they mentioned that they have in excess of 20 to 30 people who are in various stages working through courses with AB. So again, depending on the amount of time of stay and that sort of thing that folks are at the HMP will depend on how they progress through and their interest in progressing through.
Okay, thank you. And in that news release, there was a mention of the New Day, the Safety and Repair, the Anger Solutions, Seeking Safety and First Light programs. So do you have any numbers about any of the inmates that have participated in those programs?
Minister Davis.
We have, I didn't get the chance to say this earlier, I just want to say thank you to the volunteer groups and stakeholders that do the fantastic work within all of our corrections facilities, not just H&P, because they do significant work in all the corrections facilities. I've had the opportunity to tour some other facilities as well and see how beneficial it can be when you have the right mix for programming and AB, and those programs happen in every place with volunteers in many cases. We have, obviously we have some support we provide those groups that do that fantastic work, and I think we can get that information for you if Lorelei don't already have it, and I'm guessing she probably already has it, so I would let her go and let you know that.
ADM Roberts.
Lorelei Roberts. In terms of the number of people that go through, I don't have a complete count, but essentially we do offer Seeking Safety, Anger Solutions, Safety and Repair, and New Day programs, and it's open to any inmate who would like to attend. Given that individuals may be on remand, they may or may not wish to attend, but if they want to attend and they do indicate they wish to attend, then we will accommodate them.
Thank you. Has any rehabilitative programming been canceled or delayed because of lack of staffing, staff vacancies, sick leave, et cetera, at the HMP?
Minister Davis.
Thank you. Like in any corrections facility, there is ebb and flow that happens when either something is in a lockdown or something changes in the facility where the priority has always been medical appointments, lawyers, court proceedings that they would have to go to, and obviously visitations would rank there as well. So if there is we try to limit that as much as we possibly can, but there has been from time to time a program that can't go ahead because of something that's happening within the confines of the corrections facility, whatever corrections facility it is. And that happens in every corrections facility across the country and around the world, I would think, but it does happen from time to time. I don't have the numbers of that for you, but I can try to get those if they're available.
Okay, thank you, Minister. And there was $150 million received from the federal government last year. How was that money used?
Minister Davis.
When we build the facility, that will be used for the facility, the new corrections facility, and hopefully much more.
Okay, thank you. And capacity, I'm not sure if this was stated earlier, but what is the current capacity at the HMP right now?
I don't have that number for you. I think I said earlier to a question that our colleague had asked. I think it ranges on a day-to-day basis between 350 and 400 in all of our corrections facilities. it could be at any point, it could be at a day in time, it could be 15 or 17 in Corner Brook, it could be 220 in HMP, it could be 64 in West Coast Correction Facility, so it changes on the day-to-day, but like our complement is fairly consistent-ish between 350 and 400 at all of our facilities.
Okay, thank you. 4.202, Youth Secure Custody. In February, CBC reported infrastructure and capacity problems at the youth center. What action since then has been taken to repair the facility?
It's a very good question. Thank you. It's a very good question. I highlighted earlier that units, the 4 units that we have, obviously there's a roof issue that's being tendered now to do that. When that roof issue is finished, the inside work will be done. That will expand the ability to utilize a couple of extra units. One of the things that are in youth corrections, there could be orders in which you can't be in the presence of another youth that's in there, and where we have that facility, that puts a little bit more of a strain on it. It could be 1 youth or 2 youths in one unit and 2 or 3 in another unit, which requires more staff to deal with those concerns. You know, we're always monitoring that situation, and we'll continue to monitor that situation. There was a time in which, you know, the youth correction facility was empty. Not too long ago. So obviously there's things that have changed in the community that we're living. We're very cognizant of that. We're working very closely with our corrections folk to try to provide the best services we can to those individuals. And sometimes those orders that are put in place for not being able to be in the presence of another individual, that puts a little bit more of a strain on it, but that's stuff that we have to do within the justice system that is very important for the development of those young people. And we want to make sure they have the best chance of success. These are the individuals you want to invest the infrastructure and the programming in to try to help them make better choices in the future for the longer term for them.
The member's time has expired. Member for St. John's Centre.
I have no questions, Chair, except to say thank you to the Minister and his staff for answering the questions, and also to Chief Roach and his staff for your patience tonight and providing us with the information. Thank you very much.
Okay. Member for Harbour-Main.
Well, I want to say thank you to everyone for your participation here this evening. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions for the subhead, I now ask the clerk to recall the subhead.
4.1.01 to 4.2.02 inclusive public protection.
Shall 4.1.01 to 4.2.02 inclusive public protection carry? All those in favor? All those against? Carried.
The total.
Shall the total carry? All those in favor? All those against? Carried. Shall I report the estimates of the Department of Justice and Public Safety? Carried. All those in favor? All those against? Carried. Just thank the Minister and the departmental staff and officials in the committee for your attendance here this evening. The next meeting will be April the 11th, 2025 at 1 p.m. to consider the estimates of the Department of Education. I'll ask for a mover for adjournment. The member for hang on, Windsor Lake. All those in favor? All those against? Carried. Meeting is now over.